Every time they tell me stop, I use every comment, hate that makes my feel. Gather up my energy and boom, I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with, giving my blood, so I am relentless.
Welcome to the Keep Hammering Collective. I'm here with Matthew Centrowitz, Olympic champion in the 1500 meter. Well, when it's 2016, right?
Many years ago.
Yeah.
Seemed like yesterday, but.
Well, I've watched that run many times, and we just watched it last night again. Just because it's so epic seeing an American runner hadn't won that Olympic final since 1908 until you won it.
Yep. And the beautiful thing about COVID, well, the only beautiful thing about COVID was that I became the second longest reigning Olympic champ because I got that extra year.
Oh, nice.
The Olympics were in 2021. So I got an extra year in 2020 to
5 years
to still be the Olympic champ. So that was kind of a special thing, but starting to kind of slowly move on to the next Olympic cycle and try to, that's kind of the tough thing about sports, but in track and field in general is like there's always another race around the corner. There's always something else that you haven't quite achieved and that you have on your goals and on the horizon. That's like, you maybe took a few weeks or maybe even a couple months to like bask in that,
Celebrate.
And then it's like move on. You know, and it's
can't
like,
really rest on your laurels.
No, definitely not in the sport. I mean, it's unforgiving. Even like Usain Bolt, he's lost a few times, and it's just really hard to kind of have a perfect tracking record and to always be on your A game, and obviously injuries too. You put a lot on the body. We don't run 240-mile races, but the 1 mile that we do run is quite taxing. So
I can't imagine. I mean, so what does it take? So for somebody like me, and looking in, I don't know what your life's like, you see glimpses of it, but what does it take to become an Olympic champion? I mean, what has to happen and what do you have to do to get there?
Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot. I was telling you this yesterday on our run. You could be prepared like mentally, physically, and you still need that like 1 or 2% amount of luck. You need things still on that given day. And I think what makes the Olympics so special compared to like any other sporting event, in my opinion, in like the World Cup, it comes every 4 years.
Right.
And so it's not something like, with NBA, you have best of 7. So you know what, I woke up with food poisoning, I had a late night, whatever it is, I can get it back on game 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. It's like, you wake up that Olympic final and you got a shitty night of sleep, you're texting your girlfriend all night and she was keeping you up, and that's it. That's a one shot you got until the next 4 years. And usually in this sport, those chances don't come often.
So on that day, for whatever reason, all the stars aligned and you came across the line first. Yeah. I mean, so incredible. I mean,
I'm still kind of in disbelief every now and then. Right after that race, it took me, I think my celebration was just like looking up in the screen and like, my mouth or my hands over my mouth. And I kind of had a reputation for quite some time of like post-race celebrations and being very arrogant and cocky and whatever. And that was like the one time I had nothing planned and I didn't know what to do. I was just double checking the scoreboard that I wasn't celebrating a second place thinking I was first or whatever. And so it was a special moment for sure. And then having my dad in the stands, and my sister, can't neglect her. It made it even more special. The NBC interview I did after the race, they wanted to talk about my race, but more importantly, they wanted to show me the reaction of my family and friends in the crowd. And I think that was the part where I started kind of tearing up a little bit and was like, it's more than just me, it's bigger than me, you know? And, obviously my family and friends all came along for the journey, and it was a piece of their success too.
Yeah, you'll always be known as an Olympic champion. And it's like, even when we were meeting people yesterday on running, it's so easy for me to say, this is Matthew Centrowitz, Olympic gold medalist. And it's like, for anybody, they're like, holy shit, what?
Yeah.
If they don't know you, if they're not track, whatever, but most people do know you, but still you say that and it's just like, that's automatically, you're at about the highest rung of the ladder. It's just, I can't imagine.
No, and so one of my favorite athletes is Kobe Bryant. And obviously since his passing, I've listened to a lot of his podcasts and interviews and whatnot. And it's so funny to me that everything he's achieved in basketball, that most of the time when they start going down his credentials and accolades, the first thing they say is Olympic champion as well. Like they won't say like, X amount of all-star and NBA champ, but like to those guys, like winning the Olympics is like almost more important than an NBA title. Like I said before, like NBA titles every year.
Yeah.
Those guys the Olympics comes around every 4 years, and who knows if they're going to be selected for the next one. And so even when you see other big time sports here in the U.S., even to those guys, like Olympic champion in the Olympics is like, it's the best of the best, and it's there's no greater feat.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, I think when we talk about it, because everybody loves to compare sport, and whatever sport you're in, compare different athletes and eras. And I do find myself too, is like, oh, he won this, Jordan won 6.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, what did he win a gold medal too? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, that's the differentiating factor. But you reminded me of something when you mentioned Kobe. You see that. What I see now since his passing is I see a lot of videos, and it's more about his mindset. You know what I mean? They don't show him winning championships. They show him being like ruthless. Do you take part of that type of mentality into what you do also? Yeah,
no, for sure. I would venture to say, you can ask anyone and they'll say it's 20% mental or it's, 80% mental. I don't know what the percentage is, and I'm not going to throw out a number here, but I will say in running specifically, when you go to all the professional groups around the world and you see all of the athletes that are lined up in the Olympic final, we all worked our asses off to get there. You know what I mean?
Everybody's elite.
Everyone's elite. Maybe someone ran 100 miles and someone else ran 85, or someone did this workout. And that. It's all the same, you know what I mean? But really when it comes down to on that day is what separates, first place to 5th place and 12th place is the mental part. And, a lot of times I got shit over the years because like that Olympic race was super, super tactical. So it was much, much slower than most
They
finals.
were saying a pedestrian
pace.
Yeah.
And so I think more people probably credit my successes over the years of being like one of the smarter and more like mentally strong athletes than physical. And I'll leave that debate to other people, but I value, just the mental strength a lot more in track and field than the physical strength. And I mean, when you're doing 240-mile races and you're out there grinding more hours than I am out there, I mean, we were talking about this yesterday. Like, I won't wear headphones. I won't wear music when I'm running because I like being in my thoughts. I like that I'm getting mentally stronger, whether it's like pushing through a hard mile, pushing through a hard workout. Whereas like if I have some headphones on or if I have some other distractions to take me away from like what I'm doing right then and there, it's like an easy way out.
Right.
And so I'll do anything that can like potentially like get me stronger mentally. And I find like something so small, like not wearing headphones, not listening to music, and like actually like working through this workout and this run or whatever it may be during the course of the week is, it gives me the extra advantage I need over my competitors.
Yeah. Goggins says that too. He says like wearing or listening to music when you're running is cheating. Is how he looks at it, but it's a similar type of thing.
Listen, at the end of the day, as a professional runner, we only dedicate, I would say, anywhere from 90 minutes to 2 hours a day of running. And if you can't for 2 hours a day tune out the distractions, put the headphones away, put the music away. I mean, you could be on your phone the other 22 hours a day, whatever when we are, right? Like everyone's on their phones these days. And it's like, if I can't just put that phone away and like focus on what like I need to work on or what is like going on in my life or in training and racing, just for those 90 minutes, 2 hours, go find another job.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're talking earlier today, just like how great our like jobs and lifestyles are. And it's like,
work.
I love it. Like, it's like, I don't want to like, I don't need a distraction. I don't want to like, make it easier. Like I actually enjoy like, getting better and knowing I'm getting better. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I was thinking, so in that Olympic final, what were you thinking tactically? Cause you knew you were running, I think one lap was a 69, or 67 maybe, which is pretty slow for you guys. And then I remember the announcers were saying that, it's basically coming down to a 1 lap sprint.
Yep.
You saw that you guys kind of ratcheted up, but what were you thinking at that time?
Just like fighting for my position.
You did get kind of boxed in for a second coming into that.
You see that move I made on the inside?
Yeah.
And that was before all the push-ups I did with you. So imagine what I'd be able to do now after arms yesterday. No, it's, I think I need to patent that move. I've done it before at a previous world championship. And a lot of times, especially like in a tactical race, you kind of float to the outside of lane 1 because you want to push people wide.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And so like,
make them run further.
Correct. Yeah. Exactly. And so I like kind of got boxed in, and I was like actually in a pretty shitty spot. Like I was in the best spot all race, and all of a sudden the kicking's about to start, and then this guy body checks me, gets around, and I'm like, fuck. Like I'm sitting there going like, dude, I ran a perfectly race up to this point, and like you could see me look out wide because I'm not panicking yet, but I'm definitely trying to get out.
Right.
And all of a sudden I was like, no, you know what? I can't get out. Like there's too many bodies. Everyone's there. And I just went back on the inside, looked, and I knew he was going to drift out just enough for me to like just squeeze by. And as long as I'm not putting my arm out, like I'm not impeding anyone, just drop my arm, my elbow down. And I made one quick step, side step on the inside, didn't step like inside the rail.
Yeah.
And then that momentum just like, I didn't even think twice. I just kept that momentum. It was like, this is my bid for home.
Yeah.
And honestly, had he not gotten in front of me, I don't know when I would have started to wind it up.
Right.
And I'm not like, in my opinion, I don't think I'm the fastest guy in the field. So for me to get that jump on the field, like was everything in that race of like tenths, right? In milliseconds. So, yeah, I look back and I mean, I think I led a 1,500 meter race. I left 1,450 meters. You know, there was like just only 50 meters of that race. I wasn't leading, but you know, I felt really bad after the race because I could take shit. Like I've been getting shit like my whole career. You know, like if I run fast, it's like, oh, he didn't win this race. But if I win that race, it's like you didn't run fast. There's, you know, critics will find something.
Yeah.
But I felt bad because after that race, the Paralympics were right after. And the winner of the 1,500 meters, I think they might have ran almost the same time. And so everyone was like, you would have won the Olympics. And I'm not going to say anything, right? Like, I mean, it's, you know, whatever, it's all good faith and good nature. And he messaged me, even though, you know, he didn't need to. And he was like, I just want to let you know, like, you know, obviously I wouldn't have won. And like, don't listen to those guys. I'm like, listen, you don't have to explain anything. You ran a great race. And so like, it was just so much like talk about it, like afterwards. And, you know, for me, it's like, because that was such a slow and tactical race, had that been a normal race in maybe 20 or 30 years, no one would be talking about it. But now I know they're going to always be talking about it for decades to come because it's so slow. I mean, it's a positive.
Isn't the Olympics are tactical? Like that's usually what happens. Kind of. It's never really. I don't know. Maybe I'm not thinking of it right.
Yeah, it's about winning. It's not about running fast.
Yeah, I mean, there's seldom ever world records set at the Olympics because people are like tactical, like nobody wants to make that move early. And so it turns into, it doesn't really matter the time.
No.
It's a fucking gold medal.
Exactly. And because of that race, the race is now like, I know I was watching the World Championships with you in Eugene last year. The event is changed now. Like no one's waiting for the last kick because that's like what's best for them. And what was best for me and a lot of the guys in the race, we all had really good kicks back then.
Yeah.
We were all like, we're content with just letting it. So at the end of the day, like athletes are just going to cater to their strengths.
Right.
And whether it's fast or slow, and some athletes will take it on, but you know, for me, I always felt better when a tactical race because again, it was more of this than actually the legs, right?
Yeah, because I think we were up by Pre's Rock yesterday, but he didn't have that. I think he had to push his pace in the Olympics because he didn't have that kick. He knew the guys had it, so that's. Hey, if you don't have a kick, you better get out and push that pace.
And Pre would tell you that too, right?
Yeah.
He'd be like, I'm doing this because one, I'm getting the most out of myself, but two, like this is what's the best way for me to win.
Right.
You know, and so.
I mean, kudos to you. I mean, Nick Symmonds kind of has that same approach in 800. You know, we watched, there's a few races, and we were talking about it yesterday, a few races that I go back and I watch, and like your gold medal win, Nick Symmonds, the Olympic trials where he won here at the Old Hayward, that with Andrew Weeding and Christian, I can't remember his last
Christian
name.
Smith.
Yeah. Epic race.
Oregon sweep.
Yeah. Emma winning the world championships. There's some that just stand out. Then you had, what were some of your favorites you mentioned?
Yeah, you know, there's so many great races I know. You know, one that I'm really proud of is a high school race that I won at the end of my high school career, and it was a 2 mile at the national meet. And if you go on YouTube, it's like so old that you could barely make out who is who. But it's a really cool race because a lot of the top guys from that race are still racing now. Evan Jager in the steeple. and so forth. And so that one was a kind of a big breakthrough race for me. I think that really kind of solidified my name. And what was so cool about that race for me is like talking about Prefontaine, I ran 8:41.5. And so I tied Steve Prefontaine to the 10th in the high school 2 mile. So, you know, at the end of the day, and I always knew this, that like with innovation and new technology and spikes and all this stuff, kids are going to like, and new training, like they work their asses off. I don't want to discredit that, but I knew eventually like records always get broken and people like slowly move away and off the you know, descending order list and the top 10 list.
Yeah.
But I'll always be tied with Prefontaine in like shoulder to shoulder with him.
That's
so
amazing.
We could be 100th on the all time list, but he's 101 and I'm 100, baby.
That's
so that's
awesome.
that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah. Were you being recruited at that time, or did
I was? I had already signed my contract with the University of Oregon.
Okay,
And the
gotcha.
funny thing is like I wasn't on anyone's radar my junior year. So when colleges were recruiting me, the only reason why University of Oregon recruited me because it's my dad. You know, my dad ran here in the 70s. And, you know, was a 2-time Olympian, former American record holder. And so, like, obviously, like, was a big name for, you know, University of Oregon running. He was the school record holder here in the 1500. And so it was almost like they had to recruit me because I'm Matt Centrowitz's son.
Yeah.
And so I knew that a little bit, like, you know, but at the same time, you know, sometimes, you know, you just go along for the ride and be grateful for the opportunities you get. And so I don't think the college coach really expected me to take off like I did at the end of my senior year. And they're like, fuck, like, good thing this is Matt Centrowitz's son because we probably would not have recruited him.
And then you came to Oregon, and your career at Oregon was just incredible. I mean, no matter why you got recruited or signed, whether it's your dad or whatever, you got to the big stage, and would you win 3 national championships?
We won probably. We probably won a lot of individually. I actually only won 1.
Oh, you did? Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
I won 1 and I left. I was done. I was like, there we go. I got the 1. I'm cashing out. I'm going pro.
What was that?
You know,
15?
It was in the 1500.
Okay,
yeah, and that was so I had a whole red shirt for, senior year that I had left, but I was so young and you know, with track and field, like there's not the opportunities that you get like in other sports. Once you like strike, like you gotta like take advantage of it. Yeah. And so, you know, I see college kids all this time where like they're hesitant of like going back and this and that. I'm like, everyone's one injury away of like not having any contract or having any opportunities that like you get when you're really hot.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like, you know what, I'd been in college for 4 years. I got everything I needed out of the University of Oregon, and I was going to go join a Nike group and just kind of like, like look forward past NCAA into like the world stage, you know?
Yeah.
And that was kind of, like I said, yeah. What's that?
Was that exciting?
Yeah. You know, I think like, I'll be honest, like, I had no idea that professional running even existed. I was so dialed in and so locked in. And that's like my one advice I always give to high school kids. Cause I get like the question a lot of like, either like, what's one piece of advice you'd give us right now? Or like, they would ask like, hey, I want to break 4 minutes in the mile in high school. Or like, I want to do this, I want to do that. And I'm just like, listen, like go one step at a time. And like they're a 4:30 miler and they want to break 4. And I'm like, dude, slow down. Let's break 4:20 first. You know what I mean? Like that's like if your goal is to break 4 and you're a 4:30 miler, if your goal is to be an Olympic champion and you haven't even won high school nationals, every race between now and that goal is going to be a letdown. It's going to be a failure.
Yeah.
And it's good to have those goals to like want to go to the Olympics and want to run for the University of Oregon and break 4 minutes in the mile. But have that out there, but don't be focused and concentrated on that, and find like day-to-day in-season goals. So like you're accomplishing something, you're feeling good, you're building good positive momentum, things that are attainable. And so especially at a young age, like it's so easy to just be like let down all the time and depressed on like not achieving everything you want. And then before you know it, you're giving up and you're not even like, you know, going down to college or like a D2 school because you didn't hit what you wanted to hit. I mean, Nick Symmonds was a D2 guy.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to have running success at an early age like you do in golf,
right,
like you do in other sports. Like running, you could be doing this like older than you. You know what I mean? You
No,
could be,
that's impossible.
You could be. I mean, there's like, there's just like so many opportunities and so much of running that you can make it, and kids want everything now. You know what I mean?
I know.
And distance
Everybody
running,
does,
you need patience,
especially kids.
It's true.
But so how do I get in the 4s? I want 4:59 mile.
Okay. Where are we at right now? Where do we think that PR is right now?
With Nick, I think I ran. So we were trying to run my fastest mile. We were over there on that sawdust over on Priest Trail.
Yeah,
and I ran like a 5:15 15 maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say this right now. That's probably worth the sub 5 already. I mean, on a track on rubber or like on a road, that surface is like so much faster.
Okay.
Also, you had Nick, not me, pacing you
right.
and running with. And ask Nick, I'm just a little bit smoother. I feel a little bit easier running by. No, after we went out yesterday on our first mile, I feel like you got some wheels that you haven't really exercised yet.
No, I'm just kidding. But that was fun. I mean, it's such an honor running with a gold medalist. It's just like, dude, you've been in this town, your name. I mean, I've been at the track meet with you, people yelling Centro. It's like, you're like a rock star. And it reminds me of that. I think Travis even has a poster up of where all the rock star runners. That's you, dude. You are. Your personality, and then you back it up, and then you talk a little bit. Yeah. It's like so unique. So it's an honor for me to spend that day yesterday with you, running, lifting, and shooting.
Well, listen, the feelings are mutual. You know, we've been talking about this for, I don't even know, years now. And I'm just cracking up still at, you know, I'm asking you what pace you're ready to run. And you're like, I'm going to run 10-minute mile pace. And I mean, the first mile was probably 7-minute pace. And I'm just thinking like, this run is going to be a lot more difficult than I thought it'd be. But no, it's, you know, track and field, like obviously has given me so much. And, you know, I wish, you know, when you're talking about, you know, rock star runners and like, you know, doing something with the sport and making it more popular and guys like you know, that come from different backgrounds and, you guys like getting involved and bringing like guys like me on your podcast or just going out for runs and bringing light to it. It's like, it makes me feel like, you know what, like track and field can have this presence in sport of like, yeah, it's kick ass. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, it's tough, you know, because it has this reputation of like, you know, it's not, like I said yesterday, it's not a contact sport. So everyone's like, you know, it's not tough. You know, you guys are pussies run, you know, and it's like, it challenges you in different ways, you know, like obviously, yeah, there's no skill set with running like other sports, but like what you get out of running is like so much more rewarding, in my opinion, of course, and I'm biased, but I mean, I appreciate, I guess is what I'm saying is I appreciate you having me out here and linking up and doing things like with Emma and Nick Simmons and I even know like Danny Duncan was a runner in high school, and it's like you have those like personalities and you have those people like around the world that like either had running background or want to see in a good place, and so I just hope, whatever that next stage is, whether it's me starting my own podcast or having some type of involvement in the sport, we can kind of, you know, keep it like, I don't want to say like make it popular, but like get more people like involved.
You know, I'm a big track fan. Living here in Eugene, it's hard not to be. But I've always said that runners, professional runners, people, even ultra runners, but just runners in general, deserve more respect and that spotlight on them than they get, because it's so hard. And it's like you have to sacrifice so much. Like, I don't know, how many miles a week are you running? I mean, what do you try to get?
80 to 100, you know? And
I mean,
you knock out half that in a race, but yeah, we won't go there.
Yeah, but it's still, I mean, that's so much dedication and focus. And to try to be the best in the world, you got everybody runs. You know, it's not like this, you know, a downhill skier or a golfer, which not everybody has the means to be a skier or a golfer. But running, everybody runs.
Yep.
So you're lining up and you're challenging the world in something anyone can do.
Anyone.
That's
and they can, and there's tracks around the world that someone can go there right now in Brazil or in Korea or wherever, Australia, and they can like measure themselves up against anyone.
Yeah.
But I can't measure myself up against LeBron James, nor do I want to. Nor do I want to. I get bodied, but you know what I mean? And so that's a really cool thing. And it doesn't, you know, you don't need like fancy gear. You know, you don't need a track. You have a road. Maybe it's not soft surface, but you can run anywhere.
And that's what I'm saying. That pool of competitors that you have to beat is probably the biggest there is. You know, maybe soccer might be close. Basketball has, you know, a lot, but running, it's like the barrier of entry is so low.
For sure.
You're beating the entire world. So you line up in an Olympic final and you're saying, I'm going to be the fastest guy to finish this 1,500 meters today.
Yep.
And it's like incredible, dude.
You know, you talk about, you know, growing up here and knowing like how important and big track and field is here. Tell me about, you enjoyed Bill Dellinger's house last night?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Because I mean, think about the rock stars that he like had some pictures with last night.
Yeah.
Sam Elliott, Like, I mean, you know,
Kevin Costner,
dude, like there's like, you know what I mean? Like we talk about like, it's just, it's such a cool thing to see like the interest, at least back then, and like, you know, want to keeping that going. But
we, so to just fill in that story, after we did our run lift shoot yesterday with Matt and Travis Thompson, Travis was instrumental in setting this up. So I have to give a shout out to Travis. He's Elevation OM, he made the film of me and Goggins training, the one that millions of people have seen, and you know,
sick,
who's going to carry the boats? You don't know me, son, all that stuff. But anyway, so Travis put us together. Then you have a connection with Bill Dellinger. Tell us about Bill Dellinger and just fill in the history for people who might not know, because you know, in Eugene, people would know the name,
of course, but a
lot of people listen to this who haven't grown up running and don't know the inner circles. So tell us about Bill.
I mean, real quick, Bill Dellinger was the assistant coach to Bill Bowerman, and everyone knows who Bill Bowerman is, obviously one of the founders of Nike. And so Bill Dellinger coached Prefontaine, which, again, another household name that most people that might not be in the sport know of. And so Bill has been in Eugene all of his life. He grew up in Springfield, and he was a second father to my dad. And so, and my dad's got like this book that came out, and you could see the details of like, you know, losing his father like at a young age. He kind of like wanted that void to be filled, and Bill kind of filled that void for him, you know? And so my dad, a Bronx guy coming out to the West Coast for the first time. You know, Bill was not your typical distance running coach. You know, he could be caught leg wrestling at a local bar, getting arrested with Prefontaine the next week somewhere else around the state. But you know, I've been coming out to Eugene ever since I was a kid. There was pictures, as you saw in the house, of me at like 10 years old playing darts with Bill, or you know, jumping in his pool. And so Bill is, because of that relationship that my dad has with Bill, I've been able to develop this relationship when I came out here in college. And you know, I would go up there and, you know, whether it's playing chess with him on Father's Day, or just coming up there and getting away out of campus and coming up for a meal, or just like a dip in his pool. But you know, there's so much I've learned from like these old school guys. You know, I know there's track and field is now more new school, new generation, new all this stuff, but you know, you can't forget about the old school. And sometimes, especially with running, you know, you don't want to overthink things, and it's like, you know what, just go out and run. You know what I mean? Just go out and just don't make it any more scientific than it needs to be. And Bill always kind of like just reminded me of those things. And
yeah, I mean, it was seeing the photos there, and just to give Bill some credit too on his running. Wasn't he a 3-time Olympian?
Dude, 3-time Olympian, Olympic bronze medalist.
Right, won a medal.
And I mean, he was, I think he won that medal. So he won this medal for sure on the third Olympics in Tokyo in '64. And he must have been, I think he was in his like young to mid 30s as well. So he had quite the career himself, on and off the track, should I say.
You told me some great stories.
One of my favorite ones that my dad, again, this is secondhand, of course, because I wasn't there, but one of my favorite Bill Dellinger stories was from my dad. And he, at the time, you know, just got out to college, got to the University of Oregon, tried to make a name for himself. You know, he just got under the 4-minute mile barrier. So, you know, he was trying
at that time, I think you said, at that time, people really didn't leave their state.
No.
When they were going to go run in college or whatever. Going across the country was unheard of, essentially, right?
Yeah, so it's funny. Like I said earlier, like the first time my dad ever stepped foot in the state of Oregon was the day he came out to run for the University of Oregon. So he transferred from Manhattan College. And the reason why he put so much belief in the U of O and Bill Dellinger specifically was months prior to him coming out, he was at the NCAA cross country championships. And it was somewhere in the Midwest, somewhere cold in November, you know, I'm sure snow, 0-degree temperatures. And my dad didn't have his coach travel out with him. So like that's red flag number one.
Yeah.
You know, he makes the national meet as a true freshman. He's good.
Coach isn't there.
Coach is not there. You know, I mean, 18-year-old, you kind of want your hand held, you know, you want some last minute advice on a race plan, and, you know, there's no pay phones nearby that you can go call him up like we have now with these cell phones. So he's out there, and he's out there early. You know, he's got no coach, you know, he's just warmed up. He's sitting out in the freezing cold, waiting for the gun to go.
Getting all stoved up, probably.
Totally. Yeah. And teams are starting to trickle in now. And he's like, all right, we're getting close to race time, you know? And so as they're like all lining up, you know, he's in the box next to the University of Oregon, which he was aware of, and they're not there. And he's like, what the hell are they? Did they miss the start time? Or are we going to run this without them? And as he's thinking this, of course, he's freezing his ass off. You know, he's sitting there fucking trembling. And every team is there. They're all waiting. Their gun's about to go probably in the next couple minutes. And all of a sudden he looks over, and coming in, screeching around the corner, probably on two wheels, is this 12-passenger van being driven by Bill Dellinger. And of course, like, you know, everyone's got their eyes on the University of Oregon, Prefontaine, Bill Dellinger. Like, you know, this race is not starting until those guys show up.
Right.
And he just looks over, and the way he tells the stories, he's going, motherfucker. Because he knew in that instance that those guys do everything the right way.
Yeah.
Everyone's already there, stripped like from their sweats, and they're just cold, waiting for the gun to go. And Bill was timing that start time to the fucking T. And he got there. Out the guys came, ripping the sweats off. They get on the line, and within a minute, the gun is fucking shot.
Yeah.
Those guys went on to win a national championship. And the whole time my dad was running, actually, it's another good story, but he wanted to prove that he belonged on that University of Oregon team. So he wanted to make sure, and 5 guys score in cross country.
Right.
So even though you race 7, top 5 score. So he wanted to be in that top 5, and he was counting in his head to make sure that, like, I'm good enough to be on the scoring U of O team.
Top 5 of the U of O. So he had to be, at least one guy.
He wasn't, you know, he didn't have a team there at Manhattan, and he didn't care about anyone else besides that. I wanted to be a top 5 guy at University of Oregon. If that meant 100th or if that meant 5th, I wanted to be that 5th guy. Mm-hmm. And I believe he was. He finished like 20. He was All-American as a freshman, and already he made his mind up right then and there that he was going to U of O next year. So he finished his year out. Back then, and still now, I believe you need a release from the coach, and the coach didn't want my dad to transfer. You know, like obviously my dad was one of the top guys in the country, which is another side story about his state record, and so the coach didn't give him a release, and so my dad had to sit out a full year, which actually sort of was a blessing in disguise because that was the year he got to know Prefontaine pretty well before he passed. But yeah, so my dad gets out to U of O, and the first time he ever saw a hippie was as soon as he landed. He was like, "What the hell is this shit?"
Yeah.
You know, a guy that was born and raised in the Bronx, went to school in Manhattan, which was actually up in the Bronx. U of O was a complete culture shock.
Right.
You know,
and what year was that?
That would have been 70, so probably about 75. He made the Olympic team as a college sophomore in 76.
Oh yeah, so Pre died in 75, so it must have been like 74.
There it was. So it says 74. He got out the fall of 74, and then he had to sit out that year, which makes sense because the next year he made the Olympic team and was Bruce Jenner's roommate in Montreal.
That's a whole nother. So tell that story about when your dad was getting ready for a big meet and what Bill was saying to him.
Yeah. So going back to Bill Dellinger, what he was like in a nutshell was, you know, now these days, you know, you got a big race, you know, you're seeking out your coach moments before, asking for any type of advice in some kind of rah-rah, you know, pep talk.
Right.
And so my dad like finds Bill Dellinger, Coach Dellinger on the infield, and he goes over to him, and you know, again, he just got out there. This is, you know, he wants to make a statement. He wants to prove he belongs out there. He's trying to get something going here. And it's a big meet. And so he goes over to him and he's like, "Hey, Bill, I'm pretty nervous, man. Like, you know, you got any advice for me? Like anything you want me to do specifically out there? Like, you know, help me out here." And Bill just kind of leans into him. He's not looking at him, kind of leans into his chest. And he goes, "So look over on the East Grandstand, row G, section 2. And my dad's thinking like, okay. So he's like, you know, thinking this is part of the strategy he's about to give him. And he looks over and he goes, yeah, I see your girlfriend, Meredith. And he goes, great. Now look over on the West Grandstand, you know, section A, row 3. So my dad like turns over on the other side on Hayward Field and looks over and he goes, yeah, oh shit, yeah, there's your other girlfriend, you know, Pam. And he goes, now look all the way at the far end corner over by the Bowerman Curve. And he looks over there and there's his third girlfriend all at the same meet. Uh-oh. And I'm telling you, like, the way he tells this story, it was like the other two girlfriends, that wasn't their day. That was the wrong meet that they're supposed to be there. Right. Bill is more concerned about getting in trouble with 3 of his girlfriends being in the same meet than my dad's first race as a U of O Duck.
Oh man!
And so, but that was Bill and my dad's relationship in a nutshell. You know, they were just two peas in a pod. They were just having fun, joking around, you know, and just, you know, back then just, running was something that they bonded over, but they had so many other things that they, you know, would do together, where it was like playing pool, you know, and Bill never did that with other athletes besides Pre, with my understanding. And, you know, he would take my dad, you know, out late at night, and they would be shooting pool and gambling on certain games, leg wrestling, and it would get to like 3 a.m. and my dad would think like, great, like, you know, Bill's here, so I can't get in trouble tomorrow. And as they're walking out of the bar, Bill would turn to him, no matter how many beers he has in him, and says, you better be at 6 a.m. practice tomorrow. And of course, my dad would get there and Bill's already waiting there, you know? So it didn't matter how late they stayed up, but you make sure your ass was there right on time.
Oh, classic. And maybe, I mean, who knows? Maybe Bill, that was a tactic, talking about his girlfriends at the meet. Maybe it was a way to get your dad, you know.
Take his mind off the race.
Right.
Relax.
Yeah, to relax. Maybe laugh, think about something else.
Hey, he made the Olympic team his first year there, so whatever it was, it worked.
Yeah, I think, you know, Bill had a strategy somehow.
There was something there for sure.
And,
or maybe he was saying, hey, if you have 3 girlfriends, don't bring them all at the same meet. Maybe that was it. That was the lesson. Don't overthink it.
Oh, that's classic. Do you think that your dad, so you've been known to be, I don't know, maybe you said it, cocky a little bit, or maybe, was your dad like that too? Or is that just an East Coast thing, do you think? Or is that just you?
Both maybe, or all the above. I remember the first time. So when I won the NCAA championship, I did a slit throw across my neck as my finish, and I had that. You know, it was ready in my head. I knew, like, when I start thinking of post race celebrations, it like lets me know a couple things. One, it takes my mind off the race because I'm thinking about the post, like before moments before the race. You know, like the morning of, but also it's like a different level of confidence that, like, it's not like I'm going to go out there like, am I going to win or not? It's like, when I win, this is what I want to do. Yeah. You know? And so, you know, some people call it arrogant and some people call it confident. And I think there is a difference between the two. Arrogant sounds like too much confidence, you know? For me, when I did that post-race celebration, I was actually kind of worried because there was rumors going around that I was going to get DQ'd because of it. And obviously, I don't think they could do it, and I didn't. But I remember thinking, because I respected my dad so much, and he was there at the track, and he was such a big mentor to me and someone I looked up to, that I was like, he's going to yell, or like, you know, he's going to be pissed. And I remember talking to him because a lot of people were like, what the fuck was that? You know, like friends of his, or like just people in the stands. And my dad goes, and he told me this too. He said that to them. He goes, if he wins, as long as he's winning, I don't care what the hell he does. And I was like, that's it. I'm good with that.
So when you were thinking of doing that, and you said, I wonder if you're going to get DQ'd, or what, you didn't care? I mean, you were just like, I didn't think I was going to get DQ'd for that before the race. After I got it, I'm in the airport flying back to Eugene, and there was like talks on message boards on my social media, like he's going to get DQ'd because of I'm thinking violence or something like that.
Who knows? I just didn't think of like that being a thing.
Now it'd be toxic masculinity.
Don't start with me. This is why I'm segueing out of the sport right now. This part, I would have been reduced. I would have never had a contract. Canceled. I would have been all of that back then for sure.
Yeah.
But you know, I remember right after that race, my dad came to Eugene because the U.S. Championships was like 2 weeks after. Everything just kind of rolls. Like all these championships like kind of roll every 2 weeks. And he came up to me before the final, but after the prelim. And we're sitting at Vero Cafe. I lived right across the street there on High Street in Eugene. And he sat down and he goes, I remember thinking like, dude, I'm fucking nervous. You know, I'm racing the big boys now. Yeah. You know, Bernard Lagat. U.S. Championships.
So top 3 make the Olympics.
Top 3 make the Worlds at that year.
Oh, the
2011.
Worlds. Gotcha.
Next year was the Olympics.
Okay.
And he, and again, he always knew what to say, or you know, he was always accurate with like everything that I could think of throughout my life. Which was, looking back now, it's like, you know, I guess only a father could like predict, you know, stuff like this. And I remember he was sitting across from me from the table, and he says, "I just enjoy this race because this is the last time you'll ever be an underdog." And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you know, I mean, like, I just was like, dude, can we just talk about this again? Yeah. And so he was doing his Bill Dellinger-esque stuff, you know, at that table. And sure enough, I won.
He knew you were going to win, and then you were going to be the favorite and everything else.
And after that race, I won U.S. championships, which again puts a target on your back. Now you're U.S. champion and the best in the country. And I went on, still in college, to win a world medal and at the World Championships later that summer. And after that race, it was always just like, you know, are you going to medal again at the Olympics? Are you like, you know, it was never like, are you going to make a team? It was always just like, now the bar is like medaling and like winning these global championships, no longer like making the teams. And so I would say like every championship, including to today, I've always just kind of had that like, target on my back in sense of like, you know, the expectation is so high. The bar is so high.
Do you like that?
Of course, that's what you work hard for.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, when people talk about pressure, like, it's a blessing, I guess, because I'm sure a lot of people will look at it as the opposite, as like a curse of having a father that was, you know, as good as he was, because I constantly got compared to him. And I never, like, because I guess at a young age, I was able to like acknowledge and know that he was a different athlete than me. You know, we have the same name. You know, we run the same event. You know, we both went to the University of Oregon. You know, all these obviously like parallels and comparisons, like you can certainly get bogged into that. But for me, it was like, this is a different era. I'm a different runner than he was. Like, my dad was 6'1", 175. I'm like a $130 soaking wet, you know? 5'10", 5'9". You know, I was a different type of runner he was. But also it's like a different era. Like, I'm racing different guys. I'm my own person.
Right.
And I was able to do that at the age of like 16 and 17 and not let that pressure like get to me, which it could have. And so when you talk about like, oh man, being at the top, like that comes with more pressure. And it's like, I worked my ass off like throughout my career to get to this point. Like, I'm enjoying every second of it. Enjoying it, not like just resting on the laurels, but like I'm accepting it and wanting that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it pushes you in training probably because you're like, no, hey, this is part of the deal.
Definitely.
I gotta be the fucking best. But I think that preparation and that, you know, built in the fire mentality helped you in that Olympic final. It had to, you know, because you've been dealing with pressure. A lot of people, I would guess, of course, I don't know, but would wilt under the pressure of the big stage like the Olympic final.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean? A lot of people is like, if I could get there, if I could somehow get a medal, you know, not thinking about gold, but just a medal at the Olympics, that's huge.
Right.
So I think that all that preparation of your dad and Bill and all that built you to succeed in that final under that type of pressure.
Totally.
And know that, you know, this race is a tactical race. You're good. You're going to make it happen.
So a couple things there. Like, first thing, on that Olympic race, in that Olympic moment, so we were the first event of that track night. And at the same time, the NBC or the broadcast, live television, was supposed to start, let's say, at 8 p.m. So the race was supposed to go on at 8 p.m. Well, what happened was that same night, the Olympic soccer final went into overtime and Brazil was playing. So it was like massive.
Right.
So what happened was, because they had extra minutes and went into overtime, our race got delayed. And so we were ready to go at 8 and we're in this like paddock area. And I'll never forget, like, they just kept holding us. And we don't know, right? I don't know. We're not paying attention to soccer.
Yeah, right.
We don't know it's in overtime because, you know, we're fucking warming up our own race. And so we're just sitting there and all we're getting is like, guys, like, hold on. And so we've been warmed up for, you know, whatever now, like ready to go, like 10 minutes now. And what felt like an hour and a half, which was probably like I said, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You could see guys like looking around, like
getting
panicking
in their head. Yeah.
They're just like, well, what do we, like, they're asking officials, like, what are we waiting for? And I remember thinking to myself, like why, like, whatever they tell us, like what we're waiting for, that's not gonna change anything.
Matter.
We're still going off, like, whenever like those like gates open for us to go out there and do one stride and get on the line, like, you got to be ready for it. So the mental preparation is like, I'm still thinking of the race, where other people are now, like, they were like 10, 15 minutes ago thinking about the race, and now they're just like, what the fuck? Like, I need to do another stride right now. Like, I'm getting cold.
Yeah.
But guess what? We're all getting cold.
Right.
And that was, and I don't bring this up for it, but a part of the reason why it was so tactical is they held us so long that we were not warmed up. So no one could get off the line and like want to run a fast pace.
Yeah.
Because we were just cooling off.
Yeah. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's, you know, and I think in track specifically, it's so by the book, like the time, like at Hayward, they'll say, you know, the 200 final is at 2:28. Right. Or whatever.
Yep.
And then the long jump, whatever. But it's like, so, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because anytime that I train with Emma, she'll be like, okay, I'll meet, I say, you're going to say, let's meet at 9:22 for coffee, you know, because she's so like in that regimen. And so it just reminds me of what you're saying. I'm sure she's mentally strong too, so that wouldn't affect her, just like not like you. But I could see where some people, because it's so schedule oriented, track meets are, that you get out of that and it's like changes everything.
Dude, but that's life though.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why, again, I'm biased, but like track and field prepares you like out of all sports, like the best for the game of life.
Right.
You know, whatever you end up doing, because like running never goes to plan. You know, we sit down, let's say the beginning of the season in October, and plan out the next 9 months leading into the World Championships. I would put my life savings on that every athlete that planned that whole year out, that something went wrong or something had to change in there. There is no freaking way that like you're not going to have one day at least of like a sore calf or like a little niggle that's going to take you out and like detract you from like that weekly plan or that daily plan.
Yeah.
And so like you have to be able to adapt.
Right.
You have to be, and like not just like with your plan throughout the year, but like races. Like shit, like there's been handfuls of races where I've warmed up and they're like, we're running behind schedule. Okay, all good. I'll go re-warm up.
Yeah.
But people are like, whoa, you know,
yeah.
Like perfect example in 2021 Olympic trials. I don't know why I keep getting screwed, but my event, we were there. We were supposed to be like the first event of the 2021. It was so hot. It was like 110 degrees.
They pushed it out.
They pushed it out. They knew it was going to be 110 all week.
Yeah.
And so we get there. We're about to warm up. And they're like, you know what? We're going to do this later tonight. I'm caffeinated.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to do? Go take a nap now? I was supposed to go race the biggest race of the year, you know, in 1 hour. And now I got to, okay. So you bring it back down. And it's funny because, you know, you saw guys in that Olympic trials race, like that affected them differently than others.
You won that. That was a semi, or what was that?
Got second by 0.0. No, it was the final. I got second by 0.0 something to Cole Hawker.
Yeah.
University of Oregon runner. Yeah.
Which was the one where you came across, you were talking to him? Was that?
That was the prelim. That was a semi.
Okay. Yeah.
So, that was a lot of shit talking leading up to that with his crew and me. So.
Do you guys ever talk shit during the race? I mean, I know you're talking at the end of it. But during, do you ever say anything?
Well, that was during the race. You know, that was still the home stretch.
Right. Yeah. I didn't know if you. Yeah. So what?
Like you mean like a little bit earlier than that?
Yeah.
The most shit talking I like to do is like moments before.
Like on the line?
No. So like before they even put you on the line, we're sitting and putting on our spikes like underneath the stands and underneath the stadium. And I love like, and when I say shit talking, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna whip your ass. It's like little small things. Like one time I remember I was in a different event and I knew we were gonna go out really fast. So I asked one of the competitors like, what's your PR for like this other event? And he's like, you know, let's say he says like 150, and I'm like, well, get ready to PR today because we're gonna go through faster than that, and we have to still do another one.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, it's like little things like that, or like,
so they're like, oh shit, he's gonna go out hot.
Yeah. Or like, oh, he's feeling good, or like, you know what I mean? But you don't have to say like I'm feeling good, but you say little things.
You just said PR, yeah.
Or like another one was after a race actually, and we still had we had another race the next day because it was the prelims. I remember I saw one athlete and they were doing strides to flush the legs out, and I didn't do them. And he comes over and he's like icing next to me, and I was like, "What were you doing?" And he was like, "Oh, I was just doing strides. I do this after every race." And he was one of my top competitors. And I was like, "Man, you're doing so many. You're tiring me out." And he's like, "No, I do these all the time. It's like it's normal." And he goes, "It flushes my legs out." I go, "Well, that last lap flushed my legs out." And you could tell he was like, "I'm fucking out of this cold tub." He's like, "I'll see you tomorrow." Like it was like you could tell like it was like he started questioning
just
like,
planting that seed.
Should I have done that many? Like, should I stop doing this?
Right. It's like, what the fuck?
So that's the shit I like to do.
That's what we do that too when we used to go and shoot 3D tournaments with our bows.
Yeah.
So you learned how to shoot a bow yesterday, and you know how, you know, you'd come and you do the same thing. You got to anchor the same way, the string on your nose, corner of your mouth, do all the same thing. So all you have to do is say something like, "Man, you always anchor like that?" And then there's like, what am I doing? Then once you start thinking about it, then all sorts of shit comes up. So it's the same type of thing. You don't have to say, you know, you're a shitty shot, I'm a better shot. The little things.
That's worse. Yeah. It's worse.
It is, because it gets that brain thinking, then they're like, then it can go a million different directions.
Exactly.
But so what were you saying at the end of that 1500 to Cole? Do you remember?
Like I was telling you earlier, there's so much shit that comes out of my mouth. Like I think I said to him, and it wasn't that much shit talking. I just said, because we were up and away from the field and we had qualified. I said, "Oh, we're good. We're like, you know, we can ease up." Yeah. You know, but just being like, you know, just even talking though, you're like, you can tell he was thrown off a little bit.
Yeah, they're not talking at the end of the race.
They're not. Yeah. So. But I mean, him and I were like the class of the field for sure. that year. So I think, I knew he was going to be difficult to beat. And I wasn't really trying to get in his head. I actually genuinely was just like, dude, no need to kill ourselves here.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, let's save this for the final.
That's a tough one.
And added, a lot of people like, what the fuck did you say? So I wanted to make it a good story. So every person I said or I ran into, I had a different story for.
You were running and just like looking and kind of smiling at him.
The slow-mo, you could see my mouth just go like you could spin it like was there an F-bomb in there? Was it this?
I love it because track doesn't have that usually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like
we kept talking all the way through. We jogged off the track. We're still running and ran down the tunnel and we're still talking to each other. I have a lot of respect for Cole. Yeah. He's especially being a U of O guy. It's he had an unbelievable year that year. So there was definitely no disrespect. And I think it was just good banter.
So that means you're good if you don't win?
No. Did I say that? No. Whoa.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. No, you still want to win. You can still respect somebody, but you're going to beat them.
I mean, that's what you're there to do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not there to make friends.
No. So how does it feel to be the guy now, like the old lion, pretty much?
Dude,
these young fuckers trying to knock you off.
It's hypocritical. Let me tell you something. When I won the championship I told you when I was in college, I was 21, and I beat Bernard Lagat, who was in his 30s. And everyone was like, holy shit, Bernard Lagat's still taking it to these college guys at this age.
They're giving him credit. So, and as he should, he's older and blah, blah, blah. I'm 30 something. And the same thing happened with Cole Hawker. He beat me by, and I beat Bernard Lagat like this. And everyone's like, you lost to a college kid. I can't fucking win, dude. Like when I won as a 21-year-old, it wasn't like, damn, he won when he was young. Yeah. But when I I'm in my 30s and I'm like finishing second to a college kid, they're like, you must feel real good about yourself. Or like, wow, you can't be a college kid. And it's like, dude, you can't win. Like I found like, you know what? The guys that are in my corner are always gonna be my corner, no matter if I finish first or if I beat a college kid or if I do whatever. And the haters are always gonna be the same there. Like no matter what you do, no matter what you say. Do you think that maybe people are giving you credit, but you're focusing on the shit talkers to get that chip on your shoulder?
Okay, you want me to be really 1,000? Okay,
because that's what I do. I skip over all the shit. Oh, you're doing great. You're awesome. It's like this one was like, oh, what the fuck is this guy saying?
I hate to admit it because I don't want to give them any credit, but yes, you're 100% right. You can get, what was this? I think it was Travis actually here. There was a race I finished, or there's something I did. It had been a race, and it went well. And I knew all the people close to me who didn't message me.
Yeah.
And I know the negative stuff. I kept track. Yeah. So you're right. I mean, it's like the Michael Jordan Last Dance thing. He was building these narratives in his head, and that was probably however many part series it was, maybe 6 or 8, 10 episodes. The one thing that really stuck out to me and I could relate to, like as much of a competitive athlete, I should say, is that like I have longevity. I've been in the sport now for half my life, right? And you get to a point where you're finding different ways to motivate yourself and to get your ass off the door and keep with the same fire, right? It's hard day in and day out, year in, year out. And it's funny because, what you say, like, or at least with the Michael Jordan thing was like, this is my favorite part of it. He's telling the story from his perspective, and he's like, I go to this restaurant, a night before the game, and I'm sitting there, and the coach walks by me, and he doesn't say hi.
George Karl, I think.
Yeah,
George Karl
was that one. Yeah, I don't remember I don't remember which coach it was, but he goes. The coach walks by me and doesn't say hi, and I'm friends with the coach. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay, like you're gonna say that, you're gonna do that to me now. Now it's on. So the next day he's like, I dropped 30 on them, I dropped 40 on them. Right. Well, then guess what? They interview the coach, and he goes, I didn't even go to that restaurant the night before. And so he made that story up in his head. And probably Michael Jordan probably passed a lie detector test of being like, did he do that? He believed it. He believed it. Yeah. And he needed that, And the next night it was a different athlete or a different player or a different coach that pissed him off. Yeah. That I took it personally. That quote.
I love that.
I love that too because it's so real. Because I try to find the things, you can't do this or someone said this. You try to find those things. And I probably build it up a little bit more. But you're right. You're like, do you think that
But those kids too, those college guys, I think they have actually talked shit, haven't they?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you remember anything they've said?
That stuff will be with me to the day I die. Of course. like I said, I don't remember the nice stuff, things people say.
Right.
Yeah, they were trying to make track and field popular, and they thought like
a rivalry.
There's no rivalry when
good guy, bad guy.
I'm always a bad guy.
Yeah,
and like that's why I'm wearing black right now. All black. Like I'll take that role.
You're going to do a funeral? That's Johnny Cash.
Yeah, yeah. I'll take whatever role, but
you like the bad guy role, don't you?
Love it.
Okay.
I'd rather be the bad guy than the good guy. But, I am a good guy. I want to be loved too. No.
Yeah.
You remember well, it was a big three, but basically the rivalry with Seb Coe and Steve Ovett back in the day. You heard of it?
Yeah.
So Seb Coe, who's like our IAAF president, and just this like great reputation. He was a politician, but polished, like in the interviews, nice guy. And then you have Steve Ovett, who actually ran with his son for like a year here at U of O, and he was the bad guy. And the funny thing is, I just watched this like documentary not too long ago. He was like, there's nothing that guy could have said or done to like change that narrative.
Right.
And so it's like one of those things that like all it takes is like one interview or one thing that you say and you become that like the villain for, the rest of your career. But, every movie needs a villain.
Yeah.
Every every story needs a villain. And so like if I fit that story and I got to be that guy, I'll be that guy.
It's awesome because I think you're built for it. I think that East Coast mentality and being kind of brash and then the cutting the throat.
That was the beginning of many more to come, but yeah.
Oh, I love it. I mean, I love that you accept that role because it does make it more interesting. I know when those kids were saying like, hey, what's this going on with Centro and this, Cole Hawker, and I think, was there another Cole? Or
Cooper.
Yeah.
Well, look at right now. Look at Lakers and Timberwolves.
Yeah.
Or not? Sorry, my God. The Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah.
I mean, you have he went to Oregon.
Dylan Brooks.
You have Dylan Brooks, who like maybe 2% of people out there like him in '98, but it actually adds viewers. Everyone's going to tune in and watch.
Yeah, I couldn't wait for that game after he said, "Hey, you want want my respect? Drop 40 on me."
Drop 40 on me. He's old.
Yeah, he's old.
But that's, I mean, you don't have him talking shit like that, or you don't have a character or a team or, an athlete like that. I'm going to go watch another game.
Yeah.
Like KD versus Russ, that's a good, they're arguing each other. Like you want that. That's what you need in like rivalries in sports. And that's what like attracts viewers.
Yeah.
That's what's getting viewership. I mean, if we all like each other, we're all holding hands and, we're all slapping high fives. It's like
boring.
Yeah. Like no one's going to tune on that.
No.
But like Noah Lyles at Worlds last year,
yeah.
him and the Knighton guy, they were like going at it. Like they were talking shit in the middle race.
That's awesome.
I was tuning in.
I wanted to see that fight for sure.
Everyone did.
Yeah.
So,
makes it good.
I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, but like, again, you need that.
Yeah. Well, so how are you feeling? I mean, you're 33. That is, I think you said that normally you're at your best in what year of in and maybe mid 20s.
Yeah.
But how are you feeling physically? I mean, you still think that you're going to be the best in the world? I mean, it seems like if I had to guess yesterday after you're running your 2-minute mile and talking like I said, sitting on a park bench, I'd say you still got it. But how are you feeling physically?
Yeah, so I had ACL surgery like last year, and so that wiped me out for the whole year. But it's been a long, tedious process back. But the fire's there.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, like I think my goal right now is like making the Olympic team, 4th Olympic team, going to Paris next year. And I could ride off in the sunset. I've found like once you make these global championships, it's like anyone's game. And so like my goal right now is just making sure, and I'd love not just to make the team, but win the U.S. trials next year. And then, take it one round at a time at the Olympics. And then, once you get into the final, do something weird, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, but for me, I think like making that Olympic team is going to be kind of like my big goal over the next 12 plus months. So.
And I mean, if I had to look at, so just say in the last few days, you came and you ran a meet here in Eugene on Friday, right? Then you ran, I think you said 17 miles, a 6-minute pace on Saturday, right?
Don't tell all my secrets. Yeah. No kidding.
Then we ran yesterday, which was like a day off, but it's still.
Whoa. That was like some hill repeats, like for, I don't know, an hour and a half or so,
Did you feel it on your legs?
Felt my arms more.
Oh,
I felt my arms more. I'm going to be completely honest with you. The run was nice. It massaged the legs a little bit over the hills, but that upper body workout here, I'm going to be feeling that for a week.
Oh, that was awesome.
Gotta shake these arms out a little bit.
That was so fun. But you showed me some of your moves too, like
it's a lot different.
The leg stuff and the core stuff, and it's like
balance and mobility.
I was saying I need to do that. I was telling Tanner I never do any of that. And I'm like, God, I should be doing that shit.
You know, you're doing something right. You know, I'm gonna, you know, I won't fine tune. I won't critique too much of what you're doing here. But, you know, we were talking about this yesterday. I could totally see like your mindset and your perspective, like of the weight room of like, I train legs with the runs I do.
Right.
I don't need to like go hit legs again. They're going to trash me more for tomorrow. You know, like we're training for two different type of things, you know, mine's more speed oriented. So like I have to like, you know, hit some of these like Olympic lifts.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when I'm done running, I'm going to be right there with you, getting those arms a little bit, you know?
Oh, definitely. No, you did great. That was so fun. You got veins in your shoulders, dude.
Dude, that's all for
shredded.
show. That's all for show.
How did that on Friday? Would you run a 4? You ran the mile. You're doing a relay, right?
Yeah. So it went. You know, it was a lot of fun. Runner Space, shout out to them. They really wanted to put something fun together for the former Ducks, the alumni, and so they brought in about 4 or 5 guys that ran for U of O over the years, and we were all on the team different times actually. And so we just kind of went for this 4 by mile record. You know, it was kind of a long shot. Like a lot of us were either like, you know, coming
it's
from
early in the season
it is.
too.
It is.
I mean,
one of the guys came back from Australia within a week.
Yeah.
I had a hamstring thing that kind of flared up the week before. And so we were just like, you know what, let's just get out there, have a nice like hard effort. Let's enjoy the weekend. And that's what we did. We had a poker night on Saturday night. So it was a lot of fun. No pressure. But
still, you ran like a 4:0. What'd you?
4:04, I think.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, just trying to think. That'd be like you missing the target. I mean, like, yeah. Like,
really? That's slow?
Maybe at like 100 yards away. Maybe at 100 yards away.
Seems really fast to me.
Would you say 160 was or 120 was your farthest shot?
Actually, I've hit the balloon at 309.
Okay, so never mind. It'd be like missing the balloon at like 250.
So
200.
Yeah, I mean, because still 404 is fast as fuck. But obviously, it's not. Your best is what?
Right.
349?
349.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of seconds. I mean, even like, so I'll run 349 and the world record's 343, 6 seconds. And everyone's like, you're so close, you got it. I'm like, 6 seconds is like 50 meters, man. I was like, I don't.
343. Who was that?
El Guerrouj in the picture, King of the Mile.
King of the Mile. Oh my God, that's so fast.
Told me to take the earrings out.
I know. What a great story. Yeah. So King of the Mile, I took the kids over to meet him one time. Actually, he was here for the Prefontaine, and it was Marion Jones and him and whatever. It's like this time. But he had some advice for you.
He did.
He saw you running, right, when you were young. How old were you?
He came out here when I was a freshman. So I was like barely 18 years old, and we're doing a workout actually out on Amazon. And we're coming around, and obviously his English, or I shouldn't say obviously, but his English isn't good. And so we had a girl on our team, same class as me actually, and she's from Belgium, so she speaks French fluently. So they were like talking to each other. She was his translator. And after the workout, she comes up to me and she's like, hey, like El Guerrouj had a lot of like positive things to say about you. And I'm like, don't fuck with me. I was like, you're kidding me. And she was like, no, he was, he kept like, you know, nudging me and being like, who's that guy? Who's that guy? And kept pointing at me and said, he's got really good smooth form and he could be really good. And I just got my ears pierced like the first couple weeks of school.
Both ears?
Both ears. 2 big diamonds, you know, like the typical, I don't know, fuckboy look. And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, and he says, but real athletes don't wear earrings. And, you know, athletes meaning athletics. But I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo, he's a real athlete. He wears earrings, you know, and don't get me started on all the girls that wear earrings. But I didn't think twice. I took them out later that night immediately. Left them out for years.
Really?
I mean, that was 2000. So that would have been like 2008, 2009. So 2016, you know, fast forward to the Olympics. So whatever, 7 years, is my math right? Yeah. 7 years, 8 years later.
Yeah.
I'm actually going down right before they held us. Like I was telling you, for like 10 or 15 minutes, we're in the last call room, and he's big time. Like he still is part of like our governing body of track and field. So he's down there. Like
he wasn't competing.
He wasn't competing now. He's like, you know, I don't know, working for some federation or like the IWF. And he looks over and sees me and recognizes me. I could tell. And he just starts rubbing his ear. He rubs his ear, and I just rub mine back because I don't have him in there.
Right.
And he just gives me the thumbs up. And I was just like, that was sick.
Seal of approval.
I was the seal. And then I ended up winning, and he just, you know, he was going over to me, and I was like, yeah, man, it's the earrings out. You know, and I was just elated. But yeah, that was like a really cool thing. And now I got them back in because, you know, I don't need to be a real athlete anymore. So
yeah, you proved yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you told me a story too about after you won that gold, you and your dad, I think NBC caught a moment. What were you guys saying?
Yeah. So that day though, let me like leading up to that day was like, besides of course winning the Olympics, that day was like all three of my heroes like had reached out or I ran into at some point. So like Jim Ryan, who, you know, actually made an Olympic team with Bill Dellinger, he sent me an email leading up to that race.
Was he the first to break 4 minutes?
No, Roger Bannister was.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
Who apparently is a third cousin of mine.
Oh, really?
Like my mom's maiden name was Bannister. Don't get me started. I don't know if we believe that. Like, it just seems too much. Like, my dad runs and he's already that, and now we have apparently Roger Bannister ties. Like, all right, that's too much. So, so Jim Ryan, who like is just an absolute legend in the sport, had the world record in the 1500 at one point in the high school record. He like sent me an email, reached out, like, he said him and his wife are praying for me. Good luck, all the best. Sent a Bible verse, and I was like, holy shit, this is Jim Ryan.
Yeah.
So I was like reading that email on the way to the track, getting fired up, and then I run into El Guerrouj with the ears.
Yeah.
And then the third and final like legendary miler was Seb Coe.
Right.
And as he's the IWF president, he's walking around and he comes over to me and just goes, "Welcome to the club." And I was like, man, I got the trifecta that day.
Yeah.
It was like for me as like a miler,
destiny.
It was. And so I'm finishing the race and I'm going around and, I got the American flag draped over me and I'm just fucking slapping high fives, taking pictures. I'm still like wondering if that was real. And I finally like see my dad. He must have came down from the stands and he's just yelling at me and I'm going, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And I look back and he goes, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And we must have done this exchange for like what felt like an hour, but like for at least like maybe like 10 or 15 seconds. And then I look back at the NBC replay and all you see is just our mouths. And it doesn't take anyone that needs to like be a good lip sync like reader. They could just see those F-bombs flying.
That's awesome.
And yeah, that was a great moment. We were both just in disbelief, man. It was like my dad again. My dad will never pass up on a celebration, especially a celebratory drink, right? That night, I've never heard these words that come out of his mouth. We finish. I'm like, dude, we're going to this place. We're gonna we're gonna get some champagne. He's like, I'm going back to my Airbnb. And we're like, you're not gonna come out like and celebrate with us? And he's like, I don't want to drink right now because that's gonna kill this buzz. I have a good buzz going, and I want to feel like how I'm feeling. And I want to remember it.
Right.
And so he just went back to his, I saw him in the morning for like, we were on the Today Show or something.
Yeah.
But it was like the first time I never heard those words out of his mouth.
Wasn't partying.
I never heard him pass on a drink.
Yeah.
And he was just like, it looked like he was in shock,
Yeah.
And he just wanted that feeling. Like, people drink to forget, right?
Yeah,
like they don't want to remember. And I was just drinking to celebrate, but he didn't want any type of even to this day, he laughs at people doing beer miles. He goes, "Why would you want to ruin two good buzzes? You know what I mean? A good run and a good buzz from drinking. It's like combining two. But like he had he was on a high, from like that Olympic race that he was like, I don't want anything or I don't want to be around anyone. I just want to like bask in this.
Oh, And do you guys ever watch that race like over the years?
I don't know if he does, and I'll be completely honest with you. Like, I actually don't watch it as much as you would think. I think I've seen that race less than 10 times in my life, easily, yeah. And a lot of those times are like if I'm doing an appearance or I'm speaking somewhere and they'll show up before. And I don't know why it is that I don't watch it as much. I think I probably would watch it more when I'm done running.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that it's just like I don't want to live there.
Yeah.
Like right now.
You're on to the next. I mean, like you said, there's always something around the corner that you got to get ready for.
I don't really watch back a lot of like my races unless I can learn something from it, But other than that, it's like, it just feels like you're living too much in the glory days, right? Yeah. And I'm okay with that, like when I'm, older. But right now, it just like, I don't know, it just seems like there's like this like meme where it's like a guy's like, reaching out to his picture and, it's it's just like, it just feels like I'm just like trying to rehash or relive something, and it's just like, I'm still trying to create like, new goals and new memories and great memories. And, obviously it might not look like winning Olympic gold and being at the top of the pinnacle, but it could be winning Olympic gold in another arena, however that may look.
Yeah. And you got, your fourth Olympics to make.
Damn right.
Yeah.
I got Olympic trials, beat up these young kids talking shit. Wait, no one's talking shit, right? That's right. It's in my head.
Oh, it's all, no. We'll make them talk shit.
Please do.
Yeah.
Can you? Yeah. Maybe you need to talk shit. Just, maybe you make it a fake account and just start like chiming in on me.
I could do that.
I might need that come next year.
You did have another good story about the 1908 Like the last win in the Cubs too.
So he ran for my dad. I won't mention his name in case he doesn't want to know that he's a gambling degenerate. But there's a guy, a friend of mine, in a former runner, and so. Track and field, you can't gamble on like NBA and NHL and all that stuff like every night, but the Olympics and World Championships are like the few opportunities you can. And they just don't know how to like cap these races, because what they do is like they'll just like put whoever has the fastest times of the year, like a descending order list, and they'll go off of that.
Right.
But what here in the U.S., we don't run as fast as the Kenyans and the Ethiopians and even some of the Europeans, because we might stay just here in the U.S. We don't have the opportunities, and we're working on tactics and championship racing. So a lot of Americans, Emma Coburn was probably one of them as well. They will just have shitty odds. Like there's like long shot odds. So I think I was like 2,000 to 1.
To win the gold.
To win, yeah. No, sorry. It would have been 20 to 1. 20 to 1.
Okay.
21 to win the Olympic gold. And so I had a lot of friends and family, of course, just for fun, sprinkle some money to make it interesting, or they like knew I was in really good shape. And I even had people like ask me, and I was like, I don't know about to win. I was like, for sure, like I think I am, but like I was like, to medal, because you can bet on that, that's a lock. Did
you really believe you're gonna medal? I mean, no doubt.
Worst case scenario, I'm not kidding when I say this. Worst case scenario, I get second.
Really?
I thought that after the semifinal, these things.
Yeah, you just felt good.
I had done unbelievable workouts leading up to this. Like, I mean, I even said this after one of my workouts. I looked at my coach and I said, if I don't win the Olympics this year, I'll never win the Olympics, or I'll never win anything.
Felt that good.
I felt that good. I was that confident. I was doing some sick shit,
nice.
like on the track, mind-boggling stuff. And so I didn't even believe these workouts. So I told people like safe bets to medal, but like, if you're feeling spicy, if you're feeling dangerous. So this friend of ours, this guy that like ran for my dad, he put like a nice size bet. I think he probably put like $1,000 or something like that on me winning the Olympics. Yeah. Like certainly like $800,000. Anyways, he won about like 10 or 20 grand on this thing. And I ran into him later that fall. And the funny thing is, we're actually at this party that was open bar, and he's like, I got to buy you a drink. I'm like, it's open bar. And he was like, well, another time. Yeah. And he's like, let me tell you why. So he's telling me this story, and he goes, I put, this amount of money on you winning. I'm like, damn, that's like nice, good hit. Congrats. 8, 10, 20,000. Right. He goes, doesn't stop there. He goes, you won the first Olympic title for an American in the 15 since 1908. I knew the Cubs hadn't won a World Series since 1908, and I thought it was an omen. And I don't think he was a Cubs fan. He might have been, but he just knew that. Right, that connection. And this is, mind you, I won the Olympics in August. So the playoffs hadn't even started with Cubs, so it was a long shot. He parlayed that whole amount of money on the Cubs to win the World Series. That scored him like 6 figures. Oh my God! And as everyone knows, like any baseball fan out there knows, in 2016 the Cubs were also the first, to do something in 108 years. Yeah. And so like, incredible, dude. If I ever see like some type of like sign like that again, I'm shipping it. You're jumping on it. I'm shipping it.
That's incredible. I mean, good for him.
Good for him. I'm like, I still haven't seen that drink. I haven't seen that drink since.
Nice parlay.
What a parlay is, right?
Then I was also thinking, so you said Dellinger has a lot of stories.
Tons.
What's another good story that stands out from him?
Oh man, it's one of the biggest crimes out there is Bill having a stroke that he did in 2000, because I mean, you saw his house. Yeah. Just the amount of people and pictures that he has. Like he's 89 years old. He's been around. He's
last night he wanted to keep taking us to different rooms. Dude. I mean, pointing, wanted to show everything.
Dude, that's what he does. It's a game of charades with him. It's like, you got to like, all right, who's your favorite runner? We finally cracked that code, but it took like a few minutes. But he just has so many and again, it was a different era, right? Mm-hmm. Like where he grew up in and the stuff he was able to do. But another funny story, another crazy story of Bill. Let me think. I have so many of my dad and him. I'm just like blanking on him because it's like one of those like things that's like just too many. But
your dad had that good one where he ran into Bruce Jenner. I like that one.
You like that one? Yeah. Yeah. So he was in the, like I said earlier, he was in the 1976 Montreal games, and he was roommates with him. Mm-hmm. and they get on they're both flying to get honored for the 2008 trials. I think they're honoring that Olympic team. And so my dad goes out there for it. And I remember actually sitting on the couch because I was like hurt and I didn't want to go out to the trials and be around it. And so he's flying out there and he must have been on his like connecting on the last leg going into Eugene. And he's like walking onto the plane and he looks over and he sees Bruce sitting, first class. And at the time, my dad, like I said earlier, was a bigger guy, like as a bigger runner. He weighed 170 or 180 as a distance runner. And so, as you would guess, after stop running those 100-mile weeks, he gained some weight. Yeah. He could work out twice a day. He's still going to be 220, and so my dad, obviously gained quite a bit of weight, lost his hair. Yeah. Back then in the 70s, he had the whole flow
he had
thing
the hair,
going.
the big mustache.
Had all that stuff going. Yeah. And so he, bald, fat, and he's walking onto this plane. He looks over and he's like, Bruce. And, at this time, this is 2008, so before Bruce was Caitlin. Yeah. But nonetheless, had, some work done. He goes, Bruce. And Bruce looks over at my dad and he's kind of like, you could tell was like, not quite sure who this is. Like, help me out here. And my dad's like, it's Matt. It's me, Matt Centrowitz. And Bruce's like, oh, Matt. Holy shit, could hardly recognize you. And my dad just shakes his head in disbelief, like, I'm just Asian. He goes, motherfucker, recognize me. I could barely recognize you. With, he got plastic surgery, everything. I mean, his whole face was done, and my dad was like so offended. He was just like, man, I gained 20 pounds, but shit, man, look at you.
Now he really wouldn't recognize him, would he?
Oh, man.
With those tits?
Yeah. I don't think you'd recognize him one bit, man. He's like, that's not the room. I didn't see those in Montreal, man. I didn't see those.
Yeah, roommates with Bruce back then. But there is a documentary out, and Bruce was a freaking savage.
Yeah.
I mean, incredible
I actually haven't
athlete.
seen it, but man, I mean, when you, like I said, when you win, like Ashley's one of my close friends with Travis and I went to school together. When you're like the decathlon world champion or Olympic champion, you're declared the greatest athlete of that time. Like that's just back in the day, that's how they marked. Who's the greatest athlete? Well, they looked at who can do all these events. And, and the deck was like that standard, right? That's how you measured it.
He was handsome, big, strong, greatest athlete of all time, just like who you'd want to be. Yeah. And it's crazy.
Dude,
crazy.
Yeah.
What do you
Don't think you saw that coming.
Did not see that coming, no. What was... Oh, you had another good story about your dad. You didn't know... So tell the story. You didn't know your dad was a two-time Olympian for... How long?
Oh, that was one of them I was going to say earlier. Yeah, when I was coming into sport. Whether it was reverse psychology or whatnot, I knew my dad was a coach. Like growing up, I was 100% going to be a soccer player. My screen name was the next Pele 39. And when I said that right, D-A, because the was taken already. Okay. The next Pele 39, I don't know who had that screen name out there. And if they're listening, like, fuck you, dude. Like, I had to do duh. And so I had next Pele 39. And
were you good?
Damn right I was. So I thought. Yeah. And no, I was good for like a travel, Maryland soccer, traveling team. But I thought I was a lot better than I really was. And again, that's, the arrogance of myself. And I get to high school and I don't make varsity. And that was a huge blow as a freshman. And only one freshman did. But I at least knew that if I was going to be playing for Barcelona or Real Madrid, I had to be on varsity no matter what right away. So that was like a huge shock and blow to my ego. And so I was like, and again, like, with soccer, you do a shit ton of running, right? Like it's a, what we call in running fartlek. Yeah. And it's where you're stopping and going and stopping and going. And so I knew I had those tools. Like I knew I was fast. I knew I could run long distance and I did enjoy it, but like obviously soccer was a lot more fun at a young age. And so my dad was just like, he would take me to track practice, like his track practice, and he'd be coaching Olympians and like, some of the world's best athletes. And I'd bring my soccer ball and I just, wouldn't even bother watching the track practice. I'm juggling and I'm hitting against the ball. And, as high school got closer, I was like, I think I'm gonna go out for soccer. I don't think I'm gonna do cross country. And my dad goes, smart. He's like, and I'm like, why? I'm thinking like, here's a track coach. Why wouldn't he want to like me to do running? And he was just like, no, stick with soccer. He's like, it's way easier. Like track is just way too tough. And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? Yeah. Like track is a non-contact sport. Like soccer, we're slide tackling, man. Like, do you even get it? And so he kept this narrative. Like he was just like, and truly, like even talking to him this day, he loved that I started with soccer because it didn't burn me out. But he like was okay with me playing for as long as I wanted to, like while still doing track. And so after I got cut, after I didn't make varsity, I was like, I'm going for track. Like, you know what? Like here's my ticket to go to a D1 school or get a scholarship. And so I got like immediate success. I won cross country the first season I ran it, state title, and
as a freshman or sophomore.
As a sophomore, and I was like, this is like, I love winning more than being mediocre at a sport that I might like more. Right. And I mean, that was like that quote I told you on a run. One of my, like, in my opinion, it's one of the most like misleading quotes, or I just don't buy into it. Where someone says, find something you love and you'll never have to work another day again, or find something you love and you'll be great, right, or something like that. And it's like, no. It's the other way around. You find something you're great at, that you're really good at, and then you'll love it. Right. And I started.
Because winning's fun.
There you go. At a young age, it's addicting.
Feels good. Yeah.
It feels great. Yeah. I can't tell anyone who just like loves having a participation trophy. Right. I mean, my name's getting written up in the newspaper. Colleges are sending mail to me. I mean. Yeah.
Was that funner than not making varsity?
Dude, it was not fun. Yeah. Girls did not come out to JV games. Right. They didn't watch JV games. Let me tell you that. So so my dad was like telling me like, all these things, like just stick with soccer, running's too tough. So again, I knew my dad had running relationship in the sport somehow in some capacity. So the first newspaper article I got written up on, the first line, son of two-time Olympian and former American record holder, Matt Centrowitz. And I go, the hell? I was like, dude, they got this wrong. they got the wrong guy, and I might have probably, he's probably out coaching. I probably showed my mom and she's like, yeah, like your dad's done that, or like, done. And none of his,
you didn't know that.
None of his accolades, none of his like memorabilia were up. Like we had a wall unit of things and none of that was in there. And my mom likes to share this story where growing up, even before like I was even playing sports, I was like super, super young at the time, like just born or something. They used to have this UPS guy that would like, my mom was pregnant with like my younger sister, and this UPS guy was like super nice guy, and he like visited often because my dad, being a track guy, always had running shoes being sent to the house. So we had this UPS guy coming weekly, and anytime like if my main door was open and the glass door, he would see my mom like doing something, he'd come in and bring the package in. Right. So he would do this like for a while, and he'd come in, and sometimes like my dad would be there, or he'd finish a run, and the guy would be like, no, you're stretching wrong, or you should stretch more, or like those shoes aren't the right. Giving him tips. And my mom would like watch my dad, and my dad would just take it. And he'd be like, oh yeah, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Never once said anything more than just like, take it, or like, that's great. Awesome. Thank you. And this went on for freaking, according to my mom, months, right? Yeah. Like, and it was like a first name basis. Like, Matt, like you're doing that wrong, blah, blah, blah. So one day, my mom was cleaning out the storage unit and had some of my dad's stuff up. So when 1980 Olympics got boycotted, they were all given like basically artificial gold medals. So my dad's got this Olympic gold medal that's, I'll tell him it's fake. It's not the real thing here. So he's got this artificial gold medal, and it's like it's a really cool thing, right? Like they honored all the athletes that like obviously didn't participate and doing something for the greater good. So it was out, and this guy comes in and he's delivering the package, and he looks over at the table. And my mom's in the kitchen. She like looks over because she like stops hearing him talk or something, and sees him literally look down, like, and you can tell like he was like shocked, like his jaw dropped. She said he put the package down, didn't say anything to her, walked out, and never delivered another package to that house again.
No way.
I think he was so embarrassed.
Yeah, he'd been given this Olympic runner.
I mean, for all I know, he could have got another job another time with the timing of it, but never came back to the house.
Hey, we're making our own narratives.
But I'm telling the story. I can only tell the story that my mom tells.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Hey, listen, I was 2 years old, 3 years old, saying, listen, motherfucker, I don't know he's Olympian either.
So yeah, you didn't find out until.
So the newspaper article came out. It listed his accolades, his accomplishments, and I was like, what the hell, right? And I had no idea that my dad was like that big of a figure in the sport.
Yeah.
And so he ended up, I think what works so well, not just for our relationship, but for my development, he like had a really good, like he took a step back and let me like just work with my high school coach. And then he took a little bit more of a role each year. And I remember my senior year, like my dad is like, if you think I'm loud and obnoxious and brash, my dad's like, I mean, he was born in Bronx and I'm just a suburban Maryland kid.
Right.
And, he would show... He would show up to practice sometimes by my senior year when he knew that, all right, he needs to do a little more work. Like
good.
I'm ready for it. Like I'm ready for this. And he knew I was doing like, okay, bullshit workouts. No offense to like, my high school coach. Is just, I need to do more elite stuff. And he'd show up to the workout and be like, what'd you do? And I'd be like, I did, 5 by 300. He's like, that's not enough. Put your flats back on. So I put my flats back on and he goes, he'd give me another workout, like basically another workout on top of a workout that made it an elite workout. Yeah. All together. And my dad is this, like I said, I already told you, he's this big, big personality, but he's like whiter than me. He's bald. And like, unless you actually looked at small little like characteristics and like mannerisms of ours, like you wouldn't, you just don't think he's my father. Right. Yeah. And so he gets out there and he's fucking barking at me. Arms, like my arms are always low and arms all the way through the line. Faster, hurry up. Quick, like pick up the jog. Everything. I'm just getting every single second I'm getting barked at. Yeah. And every high school kid on my team is just like, what the fuck is going on here? And this goes on for like the next like 10 minutes. Yeah. And as soon as I finish the workout, doesn't stick around. He goes, I'll see you at home. And then walks away. And everyone comes over to me and they're like, who the fuck was that? And sometimes if I was in a mood, I'd be like, I have no idea. I have no idea. But over time, they like figured out that it was my dad. And he just had this presence about himself and this confidence that like, I didn't think twice, man. If he said I was ready for something, I was ready for something. And then the last story I would say is, so I do this race, and it's funny because it was the regional leading up to the state, and the state was like a big thing for me.
Senior year?
My senior year. Yeah. I really wanted to break the state record, and we had a goal number in mind. We had a 4:04 time that I wanted to hit. And it was my dad that gave it to me.
Is this for the mile?
For the mile. Technically the 1600 for being politically correct here.
Yeah, yeah.
Which for people at home, that's 9 meters less than a mile. A mile is 1609 meters.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So like, so we just did four exact laps. And so 404 was like the goal all season. And my last test before the state meet, I was going to do this mile to qualify for the state meet, the regionals. And my dad had a specific pace he wanted me to run. He wanted me to go out in 60 seconds, which is 4 flats, so a little faster than 404, but then slow down to like, he wanted me to run 65s, which is like, 420 pace for the next 2 laps and then come back into 60. So he had this like to the T. And I'm fucking 16 years old, man. Like I barely know, like I know how to do it, but like give me a break, right? Yeah, yeah. So I go out there and I run, and just for people, that would equate to a 410, 60, 65, 65, 60. I go out there and I run 414. I go 61, 65, 66, and then like 61 or something like that. I'm talking each lap I missed it by a second. Right. I call him up and I know he's gonna be disappointed. And he goes, right away, would you run? And I go, 414, what are your splits? 61. What the fuck? I told you. He goes, no, sorry. Let me back up. He goes, so once he hears the splits, he goes, you want coach or you want dad? I want coach. Like, I don't want coach, but I know I got to say coach. Yeah. Got to hear it. What the fuck were you doing? That's not 60. When I say 60, you go out and 60, that's 61, blah, blah. And he's dissecting this whole race. And I'm like, I don't have it on speaker. I have the phone away from my ear as if it's on speaker. And again, by this point, my whole team is like, yeah, we know it's his dad. We know and I won the race, by the way, by a whole straightaway. Really? It doesn't matter though. I was supposed to do it. I didn't run the right pace. Yeah. I'm like, fuck, man. I knew this was coming, right? And I'm just like, I knew it was like not gonna be good when I hit the splits, but I didn't know it was gonna be this bad. He's yelling at me, he's barking at me, he's like, that's not how you're supposed to be doing. You're not supposed to run that. And again, like I said, I'm 16. Like professional runners sometimes can't get that pace down like that. Yeah, yeah. But he demanded that much and he expected that much. He finishes his bark and he goes, as dad, love you, can't wait to see you when you get home. And brought his tone down like that. And so once I got home, it was like, how was school? Like we moved on, you know what I mean? So like we had this great balance. Like, yeah, he yelled the shit out of me, you know what I mean? Like, and he demanded and wanted that much. And like, I was thinking as a 16-year-old, already as a college runner. Yeah. So the time I got to U of O, I was way ahead mentally than those guys. And the time I got to be as a professional, I was already thinking that way for years.
Oh, that's such an advantage.
Big time. I mean, he exposed me to like those athletes that he coached, not just his college guys that I hung out with on the weekends. He'd drive me into practice and I'd hang out with these college guys in the dorms, and it was so much fun. And I couldn't wait to get to college. And like, but these guys were running like what would be in high school, like unbelievable times. But I had that college mindset. Like I wanted to break 4 in high school.
So it was fun, but you're also picking or just that mindset up from them probably,
totally,
right?
100%. He like dropped me off and let me hang with these guys. And so I'm hanging as a 16 and 17-year-old with 22-year-olds and 20-year-old guys. And they're like talking track as of like top collegiate guys. And then and then you mix in the pro runners of his. I was way ahead of like the high school guys I was racing against.
Were they trying to help you?
Oh, for sure. They were trying to help me because if I ran better, that meant my dad would be nicer to them.
Oh, I see.
If my dad showed up to a practice, like yelling at them, they knew I fucked up somewhere. No, seriously. Even to this day, they're like, we knew like Matthew like had done something. But you know what's funny though? Going back to that high school race, the next week I went to the state meet and I had a state record. You could look it up, 404.0.
Nailed it.
And I called my dad up after the race. So a lot of times he couldn't come to my race because he had his own track meets with his college guys. I call him up after the race. I'm fucking pumped to call him up because, of course, like I nailed it, right?
Won.
And I was pumped. But not only just won. Yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. It was Maryland. So it was easier to win states. But like I broke the state record and I ran exactly what we wanted to, like what I wanted to run. And I call him up. And I remember before he celebrated, I go, hey, I won. I ran 404. I ran 404. Like he goes, what were the tenths? I go 0.0. He goes, great. Like he was like, it was like,
Still
but
down.
everyone knows 404.9 is different than 404 flat.
Yes,
you
for
know what I
sure.
mean? And I mean, that's a big second. And I mean, like my splits were right on. And again, like that was, I mean, some people will be like, man, your dad was a hard ass. And like that, like, I'm sorry for you, but like, I love that I got that kick in the ass.
Yeah.
And like, it's almost like the Tiger thing. You know, you ever watch that documentary, the 2-part thing?
Yeah.
You know, you look at his childhood and like, there are definitely times that you're like, man, I feel bad for Tiger. Like, you know, I had a childhood. I'm not saying that I didn't, but like Tiger, it seems like, you know, maybe he didn't have a childhood. You know, he was like demanding this much from his father and, you know, like the way he was being pushed and this and that. But there's no Tiger Woods without his dad doing that. And for me, it's like, there's no Olympic gold if I didn't have like all of those things throughout the years and had that bar set like that. And so I'm not sitting here being like, man, I wish I had a nicer childhood and he was easier on me and you know, this and that, had more TLC and then still wanted this. Like, I know that doesn't come without that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You get it. At that time, but when you were a kid, were you like, what the fuck?
I don't know. Maybe I was just so immune to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was scared. Don't get me wrong. Like I was dreading those calls sometimes. Like I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, here we go. Like I was like, fuck. Like I was disappointed.
Scary?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, damn right. I mean, he had. Oh man, I could go on stories. I mean, luckily he's not college coach. He's not coaching college anymore. But he would have got fired years ago in this type of climate. You know, he had this presence about himself that he could walk into a room. The best character that I've ever seen on TV that I can relate my dad to, Tony Soprano.
Really?
Tony Soprano, there's so many scenes where Tony will say something. Sorry. He won't say anything. You messed up and he will just look at a guy and he's got heavy breathing. He'll go, and that, you don't need to say anything. And my dad would bite his lip. Yeah. And he would you could tell he was about to erupt. Yeah. And when you're like a little bit calmer before it, you're like, oh shit. and sorry, the last story I'll go on about my dad of just the presence and the type of guy he was. I was in high school, but I was a sophomore at this time. And he was pulling me out of school early to go do this, workout with another top high schooler in the state. He was it was post state. So we're getting ready for a national cross country meet. And it was I was pretty pumped about it because it was my first national, cross country meet as a high schooler. And it was report card day. And I was always one of those guys that mostly A's, a few B's, and always sprinkle that 1 or 2 C in there. You know what I mean? That was just me. Yeah. That was the type of student I was. And he's taking me out of school early. And luckily, report card day was also one of those bullshit days where you weren't doing much. Yeah, half day. Yeah. So he's taking me out. And my dad always had used cars, old used cars. He had a Mazda Protege. And this thing had 300,000 miles on it. And he picks me up. And he knew it was report card day. Of course, I told him, he knew it was coming up. And I get in the car and I'm just of course I got my head down a little bit and I'm a little scared and he's driving out of we're not out of the parking lot, but we're starting to drive out of the parking lot. And he goes, how's the report card? What'd you get? And I go, I was about to answer, and he goes, any C's? Like before I could answer, and I go, no C's. And he goes, great, awesome, great job, son. We're driving out, still in the parking lot.
You got a D?
And I go, but I got one D. And I say that, and he laughs, like thinking I'm fucking with him. And he looks over at me, and he could tell I'm not joking. He puts that shit in park real quick, slams on the brakes. We're still in the parking lot. Takes his fist, smashes his dashboard. That clock that he had busted out. And I mean, like I told you, it was an old car.
Yeah.
It spit out to the back seat, and I snapped my head like if that was me, I was dead. And he goes, are you shitting me? And the car is rocking of him just like, moving his arms. We drive back to the house. He doesn't say anything. We drive fast back to the house. It's the fall. It's cross country season. It's November. He goes, it leaves her on the ground, leaves her in the yard, and he goes, rake all these leaves, and he got the trash bags, he's got the bins, and put them in the bins and break them up and put them in the bags. And he goes inside, he's collecting himself. I'm fucking raking. I'm this and that. I'm putting them in the bags, and I'm I got most of the yard complete. He comes out and he looks at the yard, and he takes the bag and rips it open, spreads it over, takes the bin, and he's dumping the bin either probably on me and on the thing. And he goes, do it again. He goes, you better get used to this shit, because this is what you're gonna be doing for a living. And I'm at this point, we live in a nice residential area. People are like moms and parents are looking out their bay windows, closing the windows, and they're like, Matt's at it again. No, it was like that, but they were like concerned.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to fulfill my obligation. And he drove over to the track practice to go time the other kid I was supposed to work out with.
Right.
He's like, I'm doing my end of the deal. You didn't keep up your end of the deal with my report card. And I mean, he wasn't wrong, know. And so he didn't let me run nationals that year. I didn't race. And
really.
And you know what's really funny is my mom was always the academic one. My mom always like, I don't care about this running thing. You make sure you have good grades. And my dad, being a track coach was just like, a C, whatever. What was your splits? Right?
Yeah, right.
And that time, I think, like we talk about this obviously to this day, and we look back, and of course we're fucking joking and laughing about it. My mom was like, I wanted you to run. She was like, I was pissed at you to run. I was like, thinking like, scholarships and opportunities that you could had. And my dad was just so adamant about that. And so that was a good lesson.
Yeah, sent a message to you, didn't he?
My God, dude. Yeah. I wish I could say I never got to see you to this day, but I never got a D yet.
That's last D. Last D.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, dads, it's like, you want to push your kids, especially you being an elite. But I mean, like a normal dad like me, I can get that mindset, because I remember I came home from work one time in Truett. He was running cross country, but he was at home. And I'm like, so why are you home? And he's like, I was feeling sick. I said, so you didn't go to practice? He's like, no, I was feeling sick. I'm like, okay, get your shoes. We're going to Pisgah. So I took him over to Pisgah. It was raining. We did 10 miles. So it's probably not, but he never missed another practice after that.
He was never sick again.
He's like, fuck, this is worse than practice.
Dude, 100%.
So it's like, he's like, sent the message like, hey, yeah, you're not missing a day. And so I do get that part. I mean, you were like a special case too, because of your talent, but dads, they want to push, especially sons.
I'm the only son.
I mean, life is competitive. So if you can't fucking step up when you're young, you're sure as shit not going to step up when you're old.
Yeah.
You got to learn that mindset. So, I mean, I do respect that of your dad. You had another one too, I think didn't a college, or was it a recruit called and he asked him what?
Yes.
I got to hear that one.
When I told you he had the state record, I was like, I'll come back to that story.
Yeah.
So I might have just blown the story right there, but no. So my dad, we were talking, you and I, yesterday, just about like transparency, and I was like, you're gonna get, what you get with my dad right from the get go, you always get. Like, he doesn't try to disguise and be anyone that he's not, and a lot of times, maybe a college coach is recruiting you and they put on a different persona, and like being a little more likable, gets you in, and then all of a sudden you show up and you're like, what the hell? Like, what did I get myself into?
Yeah.
My dad, from the day he calls you to like the day you graduate, same guy, and a story on that is I'm sitting in his office, and like, like every weekend or, going into DC, he coached at American University. And being a New York guy, he loved recruiting kids from the Northeast. he just, one, he could relate to them. Two, he just found to Northeast kids were a little bit tougher than some of the Southern kids. Yeah. But then probably even more so, they related to him. You know what I mean? Like my dad, obviously a very peculiar guy, like a specific type of guy that like, a Southern boy or Southern belle might not like
Soft.
be able to. Yeah. You said it, not me.
Soft in the sun all the
or
time.
Or a Cali kid. That's probably the softest stuff. But anyways, so he's calling this kid, and it was a really good kid. Like he was probably would have been one of the best guys that my dad would have gotten. So he calls this kid up like he does every week, and doing the rotation, doing the calls, and he gets on the phone with this kid. And I forgot the kid's name is, but let's just say it's Kevin. Kevin, how's it going, man? Like, how's the season going? How you doing? Blah blah blah. Kid's like, yeah, man, great. Yeah, training's going really well. I'm definitely in really, really good shape, and I think I'm gonna give a crack at the New York State record. But Dad goes, that's fantastic, Kevin. That's awesome. What is that record by chance? And he's like, I think it's like 404. I think maybe like 403. And before he could even finish that 3, my dad goes, no. You know what it is? It's 402.7. And you know how I know? Because it's my state record. And he hangs up, doesn't wait for anything. And I'm sitting there going, like, I'm blinking my eyes like, dude, you had this kid on the ropes, man. Like, you had him.
Yeah.
And he was like, he'll call back. But like, that's the type of guy he was. Yeah. And it was so funny because, and I truly believe this, to this day, no one has broken that state record. And my dad had that back in the 60s.
Wow.
Or early 70s, sorry.
Yeah.
And for me, I'll be honest with you. I have a state record in Maryland. I don't want anyone to break it. I've had other records that have been broken, like my Oregon one. I was pissed. Like, he truly wants his record to be broken.
Yeah.
He's like, I've had it long enough. It's time for a kid. And it's kind of crazy because high school kids are on another level right now.
Yeah.
And New York is a massive state of like great talent.
Right.
And they've had so many kids over the years that went on to do unbelievable things. And yet my dad's record still haven't broken it, which is like, I mean, I selfishly, I love seeing his record still there, which reminds me kind of another story here.
Yeah.
But he really wants that. He really wants to see like another kid break it and take it down. He's like, it's time.
It's amazing though. I mean, to have that time is must be special if it's
for
stood
sure.
for this long,
for sure,
50 years.
But speaking of names and records, so I come out to the University of Oregon, and I mean, to be honest with you, records never really like mattered to me. Medals and winning was more important to me, and I always felt like the times would come. So I ended up breaking the University of Oregon 1500 meter school record, and that's a big one.
Who had it?
So, I mean, all these greats have had it over the years,
right.
Like Prefontaine, like I can go on all the lists. So the guy, the guy I'm on the list is the guy I took it from, but Joaquin Cruz. So Joaquin Cruz is an Olympic champion. His school record in the 800 is like literally within a second of the world record. Like no one's touching that.
Right.
Up in the tower at U of O, like he has a floor, I have a floor. Like he's just like, I mean, I would probably name my son Joaquin, not just directly after him, but like it's just this guy's a legend.
Right.
So he's got the school record, which I didn't even know what it was probably at the time, and I break it. So he had the school record, and I didn't realize who he broke it from, but he calls my dad up, and he goes, Matt, and my dad's like, yeah, who is this? And my dad never saved the number. He goes, it's Joaquin Cruz. My dad goes, oh, shit, great hearing from you, Joaquin. Like, what's going on? And he goes, I got to tell you, man, like when I broke your school record, I never thought Matt Centrowitz would break that school record again. And he goes, I never thought another Matt Centrowitz would break that school record again. And my dad loves that he named me Matthew as well.
Right.
Because whether it's me or him, it's like his school record again.
It's on the board.
When I broke that Matt Centrowitz school record, I never thought Matt Centrowitz would come back again. and so it was a Joaquin Cruz sandwich, and it was. I mean, it's just an honor. Like, I mean, that guy again is like one of the few athletes that I for sure look up to, and has an unbelievable stride, and just.
Oh man, is that the difference? Do you think, like in running, is that? Do you guys look at stride length? Because to me, like if you look at somebody running, they look like they're running comfortable, slow mile. But then you look at the time and you're like, holy shit, is that stride length and you're just eating up more ground and to do it more comfortably? Do you look at that distance ever? I don't know if people do that.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of the Africans are pretty short. Like they could be like 5'5", but they have long legs.
Right.
Like they're all legs.
Short body, long legs.
Yeah. For sprinting though, you want shorter legs. That's why like Usain Bolt was such like anomaly,
right?
Which was like kind of weird.
Yeah.
And he massive dude. And so like he was defying all odds. But yeah, like, I can find in any event in track and field, like a great athlete that either was really tall and had a long stride and someone who's probably shorter with like a shorter stride. So I'm sure there's been done a lot of research of like what's more ideal and what would help. But like, I'll tell you one thing, it doesn't matter if it's a long stride or short, they're all so efficient. They look so, their upper body's not even moving. You know what I mean? Like they're not swaying.
In your final, we watched it last night again. I showed the girls, but your
so
head,
you're like 1,000 of those million views.
Yeah, probably. But you're like, your head's not even moving. You know what I mean? You look so smooth. Your head barely moves, and it's just like, and you're flying. That was coming down the backstretch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just looks, you say efficient, smooth, whatever. Smooth is fast, people say. But yeah, I mean, to your point.
I really wish, and I hope they do this one day, where every Olympic event, specifically track and field, but honestly, any event, swimming, gymnastics, you take, I don't want to say a couch potato, but like you take an average athlete and you throw them in one of these races so you can actually see like how fast and how good some of these athletes are. Because I'll look back, one of the 10 times I've seen that race, and it's funny to me because like it's the world's best there. We're all sort of efficient. Maybe I'm a little more efficient or maybe a little bit less than certain athletes, but we're all pretty efficient. And you just you can't tell about that turnover until like the right camera angle will show like, but most of the camera angles, it's like, you don't even see the pickup.
Right.
And like I compare it to like, I've been lucky enough to have been courtside to some basketball games, these NBA games. And you watch it on TV, they don't look tall.
Right.
They're not moving that fast. And you're there in person, and they get up to you, and you're like, holy shit.
Like Steph Curry looks small.
Guy's 6'2".
Yeah.
I mean, 6'2". I'd kill to be 6'2". I mean, he looks short as hell.
Yeah, he does. He looks tiny out there.
I mean, a guy like our size out there is like coming up to their kneecaps.
Yeah.
But they move so quick for their size.
Right.
And like
perspective is kind of lost.
I think like it kind of like shows, in my opinion, I'm just being selfish here. Like I wish like, you have like an average Joe in every event, every Olympic event.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, this guy's good. Like this guy runs a sub 5-minute mile.
Right.
But watch him get his doors blown up by these guys,
It would.
Because it's like, you watch that. And I was just thinking about that when you're saying like, we're watching the race and you're so efficient. And it's like,
so
dude,
smooth.
A lot of these guys are though. But
yeah,
I mean,
it's true.
I mean, it's definitely a huge compliment when people like, say that in a race like that, know, because obviously, the best of the best are there.
Yeah, your dad would be happy you're moving your arms good too.
It's all I was hearing the last straightaway. Arms. Fucking amen.
So we'll have to get a good soundbite here. Have you ever noticed any, like, there's some track girls that are pretty, kind of pretty?
I've been told.
No, it's isn't that crazy? Like, so I watch some of these girls on TV, and you're like, I'm trying to think of who it is, but it's like some of these girls, they look like supermodels, and they're running these incredible times. It's like, what, you got to have it all?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have the looks and everything.
I've seen rappers and like specifically rappers, but I've seen like NBA players and stuff, and they'll say like the most attractive females are track and field athletes.
Yeah,
like they'll say they got the best bodies.
I know. There's that one girl that, like, I think she went to Harvard, runs the 200 maybe, Gabby Thomas.
Yep.
Is that her name?
Yep.
But you're just like, and looks like a supermodel.
Yeah.
You're like,
no,
what the fuck's this
they're
all
out
about?
there. They're out there. I don't know how many times over the years, especially in college, where we'll get on these debates on these runs on like, all right, guys, your top 5 hottest events that girls are in. And
Fuck, marry, kill.
Let's see. Like pole vaulters are always in the top 5.
Yeah.
Like the pole vaulters like have like some of the best bodies for sure.
They're kind of tall.
800 is a pretty good event, and like the 400, like it's like right on the bubble, Like you don't go too low in sprinting, and you don't go to the marathon.
A little muscular, too low. Yeah.
But no, track and field, man, they got like some of the most attractive women on the planet for sure. I mean, like the girls back in the day used to date all the famous guys, like the FloJo, and
Right.
I'm blanking on some names, but like a lot of top sprinters, like they're always like like dating a football player or like, you know, and so, but yeah, track girls, great reputation. Great
uniforms too.
Not many track girl groupies, unfortunately. Just Travis waiting for me at the end of the races.
You don't have groupies waiting for Centro?
Maybe I did back in the day.
No
you know?
panties or bras thrown at you?
I got the blinders on now.
Yeah.
Back then, for sure. Oh, back then, for sure. Now I got to throw them right back at him. Hey, I'm a taken man.
Yeah. Get some clothes on.
Come on. This is a public place.
Show some respect.
This is kid friendly.
You wear these?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I got my bow. I can flip.
Nice.
I can shoot him right back.
Yeah. So tell me what was your thoughts on the lift, run, shoot day, just in a nutshell?
Okay. First and foremost, like so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun.
We had a great time.
I mean, you know, I like to think that you know that I'm a very honest and open and transparent person by now. When I came into this, I didn't know what to expect. I was like, dude, I've never shot a bow before. Because when we connected in Eugene last year, you're like, you know, you're talking to me about it and you're like, wait, you've never shot one before. For some reason, you're like, I thought you have. I'm like, you're confusing me with Aisha and Emma.
Right.
And I was like, no, dude, I have no experience. And you're like, fuck, man, we got to get you out here. So I'm thinking like, shit, like I have no experience. Like, obviously I know it looks easier than it really is. But I just didn't know what to expect. Like and I also didn't know how fun it would be, you know, and like the type of like release you get, you know, from shooting. And so that was first and foremost. But the way we went about our day, it was great because we could start off in my realm, you know, with a run, make me feel comfortable, make me feel good.
Yeah.
Before you tore me down. Yeah.
Get that side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let me start off with the first punch.
Yeah.
And then we went in and got fitted. And dude, Wayne, shout out to Wayne, just unbelievable guy.
Herd bull.
Dude, he is phenomenal.
Yeah.
He was a great teacher. Even though in the videos will show you showing me.
Yeah, I'll take all the shine.
You'll take the credit. But shout out to Wayne for opening up his shop and
his home, because then we went out to the farm,
of course. And shout out to his son, who's a great steeple chaser.
I know.
By the way,
Nathan's
at Portland State back in the day. So, but no, so he you know, he was such a great instructor that like I'm not taking any credit. I don't think anything was on me. It was just like I was able to get it down pretty quick.
You did great.
And so then, you know, after the indoor shooting, we had to take it to the real range and went out there and I popped a couple balloons on the first two tries.
That was awesome.
Anyone listening, you're gonna have to check out the videos on that because that's gonna be some sick footage that we got.
Oh, I know.
Looking forward to get out there, but it was good, man. It was great. Like I feel really comfortable even just after one day of shooting with the bow and being in Park City right now. Like, stay away.
Yeah, those deer better. Yeah, be looking over their shoulder.
Dude,
where's Centrowitz?
Dude, I got the perfect property too. I mean, you got to come out.
Yeah, like, I'd love to. Come out, run, maybe kill a few deer.
We'll do one of the run shoot out there.
Run, live, shoot.
Yeah, and I'll have my podcast up by then. So I'll have my studio.
I'm telling you, you're built for this.
Yeah, we'll see.
And people listening in will know, like the stories. You're just so good at telling stories. I did want to touch real quick on, is there track fans? Is there podcasts that they can listen to get the insight on track? Or is like, because I want attention on you guys and what you do. And it's like, is there any good ones out there right now?
So there are plenty. In terms of good ones, I'm not going to shit on everyone that I don't mention because I just haven't listened to many of them. But a couple of my friends have this podcast. I think it's called Sidious Mag, but it's like something along the lines of Sidious. That's like the name of, I think it might have been their magazine at first, but now it's their podcast. But those guys are very knowledgeable. They cover all events and they have really cool guests on there. So I would say start with Sidious Mag for sure.
What's their names? Do you remember?
Yeah, Kyle Merber and Chris Chavez.
Oh, yeah. No, Chris. Yeah. No, we were messaging. We were going to try to get together because, I mean, he just knows I'm a track fan. Yeah. But at the World Meet, I think we never ended up connecting. But yeah, it seems like a great guy.
They got Michael Johnson on there. They've had some really good track and field athletes over the years, like hop on there. But they're just like, I mean, again, I don't want to like sound too like they're making the sport better, but like they're like putting a good spin on the sport in the way they're like, you know, the angle that they're coming out at with it. They have like a weekly newsletter, Kyle does, and just the interviews and the broadcasts that they've had.
The social media is good.
They're great. They're great, and so they're doing a really nice thing. So I would definitely start and recommend that one for sure.
So until you get yours going, that's the one.
There we go. Exactly.
Well, here's how I end these podcasts.
Okay.
So obviously you're an outlier, probably the biggest outlier I've ever had, Olympic gold medalist, but I'd like to share the gift of archery with outliers. Dude. And here's your bow, the one that you killed it with yesterday. It's been an honor and
thank you so much
to share what I do with you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, this was like I said, this was more than I definitely anticipated. Even just we didn't even touch on the lift. We didn't even get into that, but no, this is a totally different new world. And at my age, this is something that like really excites me. And hopefully, I don't know where this bow is going to take me. Yeah. But right now, I feel super comfortable with it. And this is the Ferrari of bows. Yeah. Wayne was saying. So this is a huge and a special gift. So I really appreciate it. It won't be hanging up anywhere in my game room. It's going to be like ready to go on the front deck. But
hey, I need a singlet here, a Centrowitz singlet.
You got it.
Yeah, we need to put that up here on, in my gym so I can. I mean, you've been an inspiration. I love your attitude. I love your winning mindset. I love what you bring, the spirit you bring to track, and just spending time with you just kind of reinforced what I already thought about you. So thank you very much. It's a huge honor for me.
No, I appreciate it. Well, the feelings are mutual. So I was just going to say, when you come out to Park City, I was going to say like actually with at first when I was like slapping before I got that on there, I was thinking like, how long do you think it will take for me to like move up? Because I want to just touch real brief on, you had a 90 pound.
My bow,
is it a draw? What's it called? A drawback?
Draw weight.
Draw weight.
Yeah.
And if you told me it was a double that, I wouldn't know the difference until I tried it. Mm-hmm. But right now, I probably have a 10-pound draw weight.
No. It's 40s.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah. But it's a new movement. It's like everybody's starting off. They got to learn the technique. Yeah.
So how often do you think I would start to like, or how quickly would you think I'm going to progress? Not to like getting up to 90, but like when do you think I'll graduate like the 40?
Yeah, it goes pretty quick. Once you start doing it, your body responds. In training, your body is going to give what you ask of it. You just haven't asked your body to do this type of movement. Yeah. So once you start doing it, your body will respond and it'll go quick.
Gotcha.
I mean, you're an athlete. Your body's used to being tested in different ways. So you just haven't done it. But once you start shooting every day, a few arrows, or at least every week, it's going to go quick.
Because the way you're talking about framing my singlet, I'm going to be framing this one when I'm moving on to the next one.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then I'll have to get you to sign it, and we'll have to get a picture together or something up on there.
I'd love that.
But yeah, singlet coming your way, no doubt. Sweet. Absolutely. For sure. At least I can do.
Thank you, Matthew. It's been an honor, and I really appreciate you.
Cam,
thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Keep hammering.
Thanks, man.
Every step I take, I move my truth. Every time they tell me stop, I use. Every comment, hate that makes my fuel. Gather up my energy and boom. I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with. Giving my blood, so I am relentless. My fault, they want someone to blame. They sent their hate, it fuels my pace. I am Roy Tough, I am the change, the fuel in dirt. Feeling like Cam Haynes.